release dropped by the Dallas Cowboys and picked up this week by the Philadelphia Eagles, replacing Todd France, who didn't do that bad a job for them. But here's Cortez in an Eagle uniform, and his opening kickoff fielded by Darren Williams, the rookie. And Williams brings it out just past the 25-yard line, where the Broncos go to work. Jake Plummer, 4-1 in his last 5 games, has not really thrown an interception since the second game of the season. And as Mike Shanahan said, we don't ask him to win the game, just manage the game, and he's done that in superb fashion.
He's done it exceptionally well, and probably his biggest development, at least up to this point in the season, has been his ability to make good decisions. He's not forced a lot of throws.
And he's going to throw on first down, and the throw up the middle is incomplete. And Kyle Johnson, the fullback, was the intended receiver. And the rest of the Denver Broncos group, and there is Tom Nalen, who has been there through a couple of Super Bowls. And the Broncos want to run the ball, and they've done that, but they will take the chances on occasion. Mike Anderson, as you mentioned, along with Tatum Bell, very potent running attack. Double tight end in there on 2nd and 10. Plummer completes the pass to Jeff Putsier, and it'll be enough for the first down. So the tight end makes the grab with Trotter and Dawkins on the coverage, a pickup of 11.
Javon Curse, obviously the best pass rusher for this Philadelphia Eagle team, and George Foster, the right tackle, does a good job of securing the edge, and because of that allowed a good pocket there for Jake Plummer. And Jeff Putsier does a good job in terms of splitting him out as a wide receiver, and he runs routes like a wide receiver, and that time he's able to use his body and make the catch.
First down on the Bronco 37. Putsier going in motion to the right. The handoff to Mike Anderson. Anderson, the power back of the Broncos, stopped by Darwin Walker after a gain of 3. And looking at the Philadelphia Eagles defense, they stuffed LaDainian Tomlinson brilliantly last week, but they have another big test today against another good running team.
And one of the reasons why they had so much success last week against LaDainian Tomlinson was because of the addition of Darwin Walker, who had missed the previous 3 weeks. And just by having him in the lineup, did a good job of clogging up the inside in that run game against the Chargers.
2nd down and 7. Again, the tight end Putsier in motion. In a tight formation, they looked like they were going to blitz, and Mike Anderson breaks one, and Anderson close to the first down. Appears to be short by a half a yard with Dhani Jones, the linebacker. 6-yard gain for Anderson, who comes into the game after a 120-yard output last week against the Giants, and a touchdown as well. And Anderson, along with Tatum Bell, on pace for a 1,000-yard season.
Well, Mike Anderson, he has really gotten off to a great start this season. He had a heck of a rookie year, and then they actually moved him to fullback in 2002 and 2003. Well, now he's back to where he's most comfortable, and he's really playing well.
Putsier is now wide to the left on 3rd down and 1. First down with Anderson. And Mike Shanahan, as a flag goes down, the first penalty of the game, Hollis Thomas makes the stop. And they truly believe in that running game. It'll be a 4-yard pickup pending the call. Bernie Kukar, the referee, and a face mask call against the Eagles.
Face mask, 5-yard penalty, number 78 of the defense. Will add 5 yards to the end of the run. First down.
And it was on Thomas, who made the tackle.
You know, you go to, there's Mike Shanahan, and in my opinion, you know, he is definitely in the top 3 when you start talking about coaches and their ability to call plays. He scripts the first 15 plays of the game, and you're seeing more and more coaches that do that, but nobody has a success like Mike Shanahan within those scripts and their ability to move the football and get points in their early possessions.
And the Broncos call a timeout, and what was interesting, what Mike Shanahan told us, he also scripts the first 8 plays of the second half, something we haven't heard much of. So a timeout with Denver moving the ball. Let's take a look at the Broncos. 5-2 for the 3rd straight season. Next to Atlanta, the best running attack in the league. And they have dominated opponents in the first 3 quarters, but then comes the 4th, where they have been outscored by 39 points. Broncos losing to the Giants last week, snapping their 5-game winning streak.
And that's a real concern for this football team. It didn't take long this week being around these players and coaches, and each one of them would say, we've just got to be able to start finishing teams late in the fourth quarter, and that's something that they've not done. Those graphics obviously illustrated that. Last week, a very devastating loss against the New York Giants, and a big reason for that, both offensively and defensively, they had opportunities in the fourth quarter, but they failed to make the plays.
Tatum Bell is the back now, and here comes the blitz, and Plummer getting rid of it downfield to Ashley Lilly, and Lilly making the catch inside the 15-yard line with Brian Dawkins on the coverage. A big play, 32 yards.
Well, Jim Johnson, defensive coordinator for the Eagles, said that he wanted to bring pressure early. You're going to see the blitz coming here off the edge, and what that happens then is Brian Dawkins has to come over from the safety position in order to cover Ashley Lilly.
And we want to welcome those who have just joined us. We're in the opening drive of the game. Denver Broncos have been moving the ball downfield, just connected on a 32-yard pass play. Plummer to Lilly, and this time throwing the ball away as the fullback Kyle Johnson was defended well, and after running the ball effectively, this was the big play that set the Broncos up now.
Yeah, and when a team is going to blitz you like what the Eagles are, you got to be able to capitalize on that. They weren't able to get to Jake Plummer, and then because Brian Dawkins has to come over the top in order to cover him, Ashley Lilly's a big, tall guy, and he just went up higher than what Brian Dawkins did and made the catch.
Broncos coming in 5-2 on the year. They won 5 straight before their loss last week, and the Eagles with a chance to remain tied for first, and the pass thrown to the 10-yard line to Stephen Alexander, and he is tackled immediately by Jeremiah Trotter, getting 4.
You know, you go back to the Eagles game against the Cowboys a few weeks ago, and Jim Johnson did not bring a lot of pressure on them, and Dallas, as a result, had great success. And you take a look at Jeremiah Trotter, who really is the leader for this defensive football team, especially in a game like today against the running of the Denver Broncos, and this injury could be significant.
Well, absolutely. Jeremiah Trotter, of course, the key reason why LaDainian Tomlinson gained only 7 yards last week. And Trotter, of course, when he did not start the first 5 games last year, when he got in the lineup, the Eagles with sensational run defense, and hurt on this play, bringing Andy Reid onto the field.
There he is right there. He comes up and he's making the tackle, and it just it looked like he just got his legs caught there on the tackle of Stephen Alexander, and I don't see anything there exactly as far as what it may be.
He's going to walk off on his own power. That's good news for the Eagles.
Well, if you think back to the season opener for the Eagles against the Atlanta Falcons, their run scheme is very similar to what we're going to see here today from Denver. Jeremiah Trotter, as you'll remember, was suspended prior to that game, did not play, and him not being in the middle in that game was a major factor in how Atlanta was able to run the football against them. And so when you get into a game like this against Denver, who likes to run the football, they need Jeremiah Trotter in the middle there.
Mark Simoneau, by the way, a former Falcon, has replaced Trotter. 3rd down and 6 on the 10-yard line. Yellow line is where the Broncos have to go for a first down. Plummer's pass is caught by Charlie Adams. He gets the first down inside the 5. Adams on the 9th play of the drive, picking up 8 yards. Lito Shepherd, who's starting today, and that was a question with a bruised knee in practice this week, but it'll be 1st and goal for the Broncos.
That was a heck of a throw there by Jake Plummer, because Sheldon Brown had the angle on Adams, and if he doesn't put the ball right on the money, Sheldon Brown comes underneath this, and this could very easily have been a touchdown the other way.
Mike Anderson returns to the backfield for Denver. 1st and goal, and they give it to Anderson, and Anderson's second effort, touchdown, Denver. The Broncos against one of the top defenses in the league. Very impressive opening drive.
Well, it sure was, Dick. I mean, you get the opening kickoff, and to be able to move the ball as methodically as what this Denver offense did, and you get down inside the 5-yard line, and you're able to give the ball to Mike Anderson, and all he does is get right in behind his offensive line And as I mentioned earlier, he used to be fullback. He can move the pile, and that's what he was able to do to get it into the end zone.
4th touchdown of the season on the ground for Anderson, and Jason Elam trying to make it 7-0, and he does, as the Broncos using up nearly 5 minutes of this first quarter against Andy Reid's Eagles, putting Philadelphia in an early hole. And keep in mind that the Eagles have been outscored on the road this year 41-0 in the first quarter away from home. Now the Eagles coming in with a record of 4-2. Far cry from last year. Donovan McNabb diagnosed with a sports hernia. Nonetheless, the top-rated pass offense with T.O. a big part of that, but the running game, and everyone has been harping on that, especially this past week, Troy.
Well, and I got to tell you that even their #1 ranking in terms of their pass offense is somewhat misleading, because the reason they are leading the league in passing is because they have more yards passing than anybody else, but that's because they throw the ball so much more than anyone else, so you would expect that. They don't necessarily throw it better than a lot of teams in the National Football League. Right now, they're just throwing it a lot more times.
And right now, the Eagles are just not getting offensive touchdowns, and that's up to that man, Donovan McNabb, who says sometimes he's affected by the sports hernia and other times he is not. You, as a former quarterback, would know what the difficulties would be for him.
Well, I never played with a sports hernia, so I'm not real certain, but in what he has said to us, as far as when he has to throw against his body and really twist his lower body to make throws, that's when he has some problems with it. At times you'll see him moving, and he moves very well. At other times in games, you can see that he's very limited.
Don Sauerbrunn will be kicking off, and Roderick Hood standing at the 4-yard line. And Hood is tackled at the 23-yard line. Of course, the Broncos have been concerned with the car accident. Dwayne Carswell undergoing surgery this week. That was the big story for the Broncos. For more on that, let's welcome back Pam Oliver. Pam.
Hey, Dick. Yeah, it has been a tough week for the Denver Broncos. Offensive lineman Dwayne Carswell, a very beloved member of this football team, was injured in that car accident. It was a chain reaction car accident. His condition has been upgraded from critical to serious, so that is the good news. I asked some players if Dwayne will be watching today. He said sure, that there is nothing wrong with Dwayne Carswell's eyes, so that is good news for them. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. Very popular player amongst his team. Crowd, big factor today, I would think, and the first pass from Donovan McNabb as the play clock was running down was a one-hopper out to Terrell Owens.
Dick, I got to tell you, I've never seen a defense like this. There are 11 guys. When you count the outside guys playing corner, those are 9 guys crammed in there within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. And then, of course, they got their 2 corners on the outside. And I just think that Donovan and the rest of that Eagles offense, they didn't know what they were looking at. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that, especially the first play of the game.
And they acted totally confused as a result of that showing. So it is 2nd and 10, pressure on McNabb, and his screen pass nowhere near anyone, and it was John Lynch. And Donovan McNabb told us earlier this week, he says, the one guy I worry about on the blitz is John Lynch, the free safety.
Well, and there was reason to be worried on this play because John's coming off the edge, and they're going to bring pressure today. They said the way that we're going to defeat Donovan McNabb is we're going to knock him out of his rhythm, and already on the first 2 plays, they have not only they've not tried to disguise anything. They've gotten up, they've shown what they're going to do, and they're coming after him.
3rd down and 10. Probably the 2 quickest plays time-wise you've ever seen from an offense.
Donovan on that play actually was pretty fortunate that they didn't call him for intentional grounding. There was no receiver even in the area.
Reggie Brown, number 86, is in there as a 3rd wide receiver. And finally, the Eagles will call a timeout. So for a team that has been very shaky offensively in the last couple of games, this has been a poor scenario for them to start out with here in Denver.
Well, you can tell they're just a little bit confused right now offensively. The play clock started to run down, and so Donovan was forced to burn a timeout. But, you go back to last week's game against the Chargers. One of the reasons why that defense for the Eagles played so well was that they got off to such a fast start. Well, you got to be a little concerned if you're Jim Johnson in this game. All of a sudden you come out, Denver takes the opening possession, they go right down the field and get the touchdown. And now offensively for Philadelphia, you know, here they are struggling in their first possession.
And the first timeout of the game, and right now for a game break, let's check in with James Brown. JB.
Hey, Dick, it was overtime, Detroit and Chicago. Chicago moves into sole possession of first place in the North because Charles Tillman picks off Jeff Garcia, takes it 22 yards for the score. Chicago, first victory in Ford Field. They're in overtime. Back to Dick and Troy.
All right, JB, so the Bears go to 4-3. They're in first place. And the crowd here is in full throat once again. 3rd down and 10. Out of the shotgun this time, and the pressure is on. And diving and making the catch is Greg Lewis. And Donovan McNabb with a terrific throw just as he was about to get hit. Good for 15 yards.
Well, and I think the question is, did he catch it? I mean, it was close. He's got his arms underneath it. It's close, and it's a question of whether or not Mike Shanahan wants to challenge that. I've got to believe he's going to. The Eagles are trying to rush to the line now and get the ball snapped, but they're going to challenge the call, and a good challenge by Mike Shanahan. It appears that the ball hit the ground prior to Greg Lewis being able to receive that.
It was amazing that McNabb was able to throw the ball with that much zip, considering what was coming in his face as far as pressure was concerned.
Denver is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass.
Looked like he short hopped it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, it's clearly on the ground. The ball's moving, and so he did not have possession of that. I've got to believe that one is going to be overturned. And, you know, you look at these first 3 plays of Denver defensively, and as I said, they're not trying to hide the fact that they're going to bring pressure on Donovan McNabb. And then if you're Donovan and you're this Eagles offense, at some point you just got to take advantage of it. And had Donovan have been able to get that ball up and get it into Greg Lewis's hands when he could run with it, there's a chance there then for some big plays.
And Troy, the Broncos have enjoyed success on the challenge scoreboard this year. They have been successful in 5 of 7 challenges, a far cry from the previous 2 years when they really had very little success. So Mike Shanahan, who's been a coach, great coach for a lot of years, finally learned how to win challenges.
Well, and that's so much a part anymore of this game, you know.
Right. Bernie Kukar checking it out. And we want to welcome the viewers just joining us. The Broncos leading the Eagles 7-0. There's a challenge on what was ruled a completed pass, and this is where it was to Greg Lewis.
Now, this was a 3rd and long pass and a low ball, and Greg Lewis tried going down in order to make the catch, but it looked like the ball hit the ground before he was able to maintain possession. And by all indications, this ball is going to be ruled incomplete.
Broncos scoring on their first drive of the game, marching downfield, going 74 yards on 10 plays, capped by a Mike Anderson 2-yard run to give the Broncos their 7-0 lead. Jake Plummer throwing to 4 different receivers on that first drive, and Bernie Kukar has seen enough and will give us his verdict.
Bernie's not in any kind of rush to let anybody know, is he?
Well, he's letting his cohorts know one by one. Bernie, how about us?
After reviewing the play, the ball did hit the ground. It is an incomplete pass. There's no charge timeout, Denver. I'm going to check to see how much time we have to put back on.
So it's 4th down, and coming on to punt will be Dirk Johnson. Broncos leading 7-0. They won the toss in this game and went down the field. A 32-yard pass to Ashley Lalee, setting up the Broncos score. Mike Anderson with his 4th touchdown rushing of the year, giving Denver a 7-0 lead. And Jake Plummer off to a good start, completing 4 of 6 in that first series, and will go to work shortly again. So there's Lewis, who almost had a first down catch. And of course, Bernie Kukar, as he promised us, checking the clock, make sure the time is right.
You know, I think if you're Philadelphia offensively and you think to, you know, what they've been able to do in their first 2 possessions of games, they have not done very well. I mean, you go back to last season where they had a lot of success in their first couple of possessions. You know, here this year they've really struggled.
Dirk Johnson with the kick, and Darren Williams receives it on the fair catch at the 35-yard line. So the Broncos will go on offense again following the 42-yard punt. A salute after the touchdown by Mike Anderson. 7-0 Broncos.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 40.
And we're back here in Denver, where the Eagles trail the Denver Broncos by a score of 7-0. Just under 10 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Tatum Bell will open up this series at running back. And he can break one at any time, so they have great contrast with their running backs with Anderson and Tatum Bell. First down from the 35. Plummer fires it up in the air. Anyone's ball, including a flag, a yellow flag thrown. And a penalty thrown on the intended pass to Jeb Putsier, the tight end. And Javon Curse very nearly, and probably did eventually, get to Plummer.
Pass interference, 29 defense. Automatic.
Roderick Hood, who would have started had Lito Shepherd not gone, guilty of pass interference here.
Yeah, Roderick Hood, and he's on Jeb Putsier. We talked about him. He's a tight end, but they use him a lot as a wide receiver. They want to use a double move, and you see Roderick Hood wanted to come up and jam him, thinking he was going to run the hitch, and that's where the contact was, and there's the hit at the end of that play by Javon Curse.
So that moves the ball up to the 45-yard line of the Broncos. First down, and here is Tatum Bell, and he is knocked back in a loss and down by contact. No fumble on the play as Jeremiah Trotter, who returned to the game, made the hit. But here are some of the early game heroes in week number 8. Jake Delhomme leading the Carolina Panthers to a big win with 3 touchdown passes. Tiki Barber over 200 yards as the Giants shut out the Redskins, and Steve Smith over 200 yards and a TD reception for Carolina. By the way, if the Eagles win today, they would move into a first place tie with the Giants in the NFC East. Plummer. And goes out of bounds, and you can see Plummer trying to avoid the mistake, something he's done extremely well. Chased out by Javon Curse, no gain on the play, and Javon Curse slowly getting up. He looks like he's shaken up on the sideline.
Well, a lot of injuries already early in this ball game, and to a couple of key guys. Of course, Jeremiah Trotter came back into the ball game after he went down, and now you've got Javon Curse.
So Trotter and Curse, and an offense that has not been able to get out of the starting gate. 7-0 Broncos. Timeout.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by Rocky Mountain Refreshing Coors Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL and Super Bowl 40.
And Javon Curse on the sidelines with the injury. Darwin Walker, the tackle, moves to defensive end Sam Rayburn. Moves in and tackle. 3rd down and 11. And the pass out to Todd DeVoe. And DeVoe is short of the first down as the Eagles make a big play, limiting him to 9 yards. Quentin Michael and Jeremiah Trotter back in the game, and a whistle.
Now you got the headlinesman down. He got run over at the end of that play.
Paul Widener is his name.
He's on the bottom there somewhere. No, there he goes. It's a pretty good one. Mike Patterson, it looked like, coming underneath them. And well, the officials just aren't as athletic as what they once were, Dick. Used to, they'd just jump right up after a play like that.
What about the ones that have been around for 20, 25 years?
Well, I think he's one of them, and so they don't move quite as good.
5 different Bronco receivers have caught passes thus far. And for DeVoe, that was his first reception of the year, but it's 4th down. And Todd Sauerbrunn will be kicking. Reno Mahe back deep for the Eagles. Sauerbrunn is ranked #1 in the AFC in punting average. Gets off a high kick. Eagles will let it bounce, and it goes into the end zone for the touchback. Well, the Eagles will get another chance on offense. Didn't manage much the first time around, as the Broncos still lead 7-0.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by State Farm. Great service, great rates. That's why 40 million drivers trust State Farm. By Universal Pictures Jarhead. In theaters November 4th. By WebMD. Better information, better health. And by the all-new Lexus IS. Why live in one dimension?
Well, it may be a Liberty Bell. It is not the Liberty Bell, as you see the State House here in Denver in the background. As the Eagles come out at the 20-yard line, they had 3 incompletions in 23 seconds the first time they had the ball. On the rollout, McNabb over to the sideline, no good. Greg Lewis could not keep it in bounds, incomplete. Let's refresh you on the Philadelphia Eagle offensive team right now. And Trey Thomas getting kudos for his work last week against San Diego. And, you know, when you talk about no running game, but it's more than that, considering, you know, the fact that they've only scored 1 offensive touchdown the last 2 games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've got to do a better job of scoring points. And if you're going to throw the ball, you've got to be effective doing that. But to take some of the pressure off of Donovan McNabb, you need to run the football more than what they've shown.
Lamar Gordon has come into the game. He did not carry last week against San Diego. And here's the audible. The play clock is running down. And McNabb fires, trying to get it to Owens, not even close. And once again, pressure. Marco Coleman, a former Eagle, with pressure again. They have been blitzing on every play thus far. Let's talk about this Broncos defense. Not many sacks, but they do put a lot of pressure on. No dominant names, but Troy, somehow, some way, they get the job done.
Well, they haven't gotten a lot of sacks, there's no question, but they have been able to harass the quarterback. Part of that is from that front four, and part of it is defensive coordinator Larry Coryer's style of bringing a lot of people, which is what he is doing so far in this game.
Ryan Westbrook lining up as a receiver wide to the right, and getting hit is McNabb, and the pass is ruled incomplete. So this time Trevor Price putting on the pressure, and that was the guy that the Eagles were wary of to begin with. L.J. Smith was the man McNabb wanted to get it to.
Well, Donovan's had pressure on both sides on the outside. Now he gets pressure right up the middle by Trevor Price, and it's a quick 3-step drop, and he barely has time to even get the ball out. So far, Denver has completely confused this Eagles offense.
Dirk Johnson with his second punt of the game, and Garrett Williams fields it, and fortunately for Williams, the ball goes out of bounds. So there is Trevor Price, who is a fixture on this defensive line, and as Mike Shanahan told us, will rotate 8 defensive linemen throughout this game. Penalty flag down.
Ineligible member of the kicking team, number 57, downfield. That is a 5-yard penalty from where the punt went out of bounds. First down.
Keith Adams. So the Broncos will get good field position.
There's not a lot right going for the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
And there's the Bronco defense, and John Lynch amongst the defensive players who have put continuous pressure early on for Donovan McNabb, and the Broncos with terrific field position beginning at midfield. Rookie Trent Cole is in for Javon Curse, and Mike Anderson getting 7 yards. He scored the Bronco touchdown and brought down by Jeremiah Trotter, who was shaken up early, came out and has returned. Not so for Javon Curse.
You know, so much of what Denver likes to do early in games and throughout the game, and it goes back to what Mike Shanahan's belief is, and that is developing everything around the running game. And this offensive line, not a real powerful group. I mean, they're not overly big, but they're athletic, they run well, and they fit this scheme exceptionally well.
Move the sticks, control the ball. That's what they're doing as Mike Anderson explodes off the left side and gets a first down, picking up 10 yards as we send it down to Pam Oliver.
Well, Dick, Javon Kearse had to be helped off the field after that injury. The Eagles say Kearse suffered a sprain to the AC joint in his right shoulder. He's in the locker room right now getting some treatment, but the Eagles say Javon Kearse should return. Back to you.
All right, so they'll need him the way the Broncos are moving the ball, but this is a very disciplined running game the Broncos are showing.
Well, they need him because that defensive end is critical in terms of being able to stop the bootleg when Jake Plummer starts trying to get to the outside.
Two tight ends, first down on the 33 of the Eagles, and here's Anderson. And Anderson is dragged down on a takedown at the 30. He gets 3 yards, and N.D. Kalu was the guy who brought Anderson down. Not an easy task.
You know, talked about this Denver offensive line. Take a look at Matt Lepsis, the left guard, and this is some of the stuff that they like to do on the backside. They'll go down on a guy there, and they start cutting linemen. Now, defensive linemen and linebackers, they do not like that, but they don't always cut them. It depends on the style of play of the defensive front. The Eagles like to penetrate. You can expect a lot of cut blocks today.
Play action on 2nd down and 7. Plummer in trouble, but he gets rid of it and he completes the pass inside the 20 to Mike Anderson, and a first down to the 15. The Eagles had him down for what looked like a 20-yard loss. Instead, the Broncos get 16 and a first down.
I tell you, a play like that will just rip the heart out of a defense. When you think you've got the quarterback bottled up, you've done everything right. N.D. Kalu in pursuit. They got Michael Lewis coming up as well, and they think they've got him, only to see Jake Plummer escape that and then find the man in the middle. Nice job by Mike Anderson, sitting put right in the middle of the field and getting the ball and then picking up some big yards.
And it was Trent Cole, the rookie from the University of Cincinnati, who missed it. And Tatum Bell in the game. 3-yard pickup with Darwin Walker on the tackle, so they lose Kearse. And Cole had Plummer almost in his grasp, but he got away and completed the pass, and the Broncos threatening again.
You know, you go with Mike Anderson, and then all of a sudden you bring in a guy like Tatum Bell, and they're completely different style runners. I mean, Tatum Bell is a guy who can break it and go the distance at any time. And Mike Shanahan said, we want to get him 10 to 15 carries. Anything over that, he starts to wear down. But if he stays within that 10 to 15 carry range, he can go the distance on every one of them. 2nd
down and 7 from the 11-yard line. Play action. And there's the play into the corner of the end zone. And it's to the tight end Alexander. Incomplete. Steven Alexander. And a flag is down at the 5.
It looked like they got Michael Lewis maybe on Steven Alexander.
32 defense. The 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So Lewis on the coverage to Alexander, and it'll be another first down.
Well, Michael Lewis, he's on Steven Alexander, and Steven Alexander trying to go to the corner. Michael Lewis just started to grab him, and it didn't look like he expected Steven Alexander to try to run a deeper route. He never got out of his back pedal, and once he realized Steven Alexander was going by him, that's when he reached out and tried to clutch him.
For Mike Shanahan, Alexander normally the blocking tight end, and it's 1st and goal from the 6, and the pass out to Kyle Johnson, touchdown. So Kyle Johnson with his 2nd touchdown in as many weeks. Scored against the Giants, and it's 13-0 Broncos.
Well, not very good defense by the Eagles. The Denver Broncos like to get the ball into Kyle Johnson's hands when they get around the goal line. That was his 4th touchdown reception of the league, or of the season, and yet all of these guys are going to be coming inside to the inside receivers, and they just let Kyle Johnson go right out into the flat, and nobody goes with him.
So Plummer, seeing the running game working, getting effective play-action plays as Elam with the extra point gives the Broncos a 14-0 lead. Kyle Johnson, and Plummer is using everyone at his behest to take this early lead. And here is the play action, and the fullback practically walking in for the 2nd score of the game. Well, there's Jake Plummer, who threw the touchdown pass 6 yards to Kyle Johnson in the 1st quarter. Blues continue for the Eagles. who have now been outscored 55-0 on the road in the first quarter this season. Roderick Hood is back. Todd Sauerbrunn will kick off for the Broncos. Running up to make the catch is Hood. Knocked down and picks up an extra 5 yards or so to the 30. And the Javon Kursk back on the bench after going into the locker room for treatment. This is overkill as far as ball control is concerned. The Eagles have had it for only 42 seconds. 2 possessions, 6 incomplete passes. Donovan McNabb has been under siege in all of the plays thus far.
Yeah, and you come into a game, and like we said, Andy Reid comes into it wanting to run the football more than what they have done in previous games, but all of a sudden you look up and you're down 14-0. You know, now they're back into one of those games where they're going to have to be throwing the ball.
They have yet to gain a yard. They start from their 31, and the Broncos show blitz. Here's Westbrook trying to go outside, and those linebackers very fast can run you down. In this case, Al Wilson limiting Westbrook to 2. And this is the kind of pressure that McNabb has had to endure. You talk about the Eagles being a blitzing defense. How about the Broncos today?
Well, prior to this possession, they had 6 snaps and 6 throws. And I think Donovan McNabb was on his back on all 6. And Larry Coyer told us coming into this game, Larry Coyer is the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos, we cannot get pressure on Donovan McNabb with our front 4. Their offensive line is too good. We're going to bring linebackers, we're going to bring safeties, but we are going to bring people, and we are going to hit him. And so far, they've been true to their word.
Eagles running the ball just one time, and here is McNabb with a pump fake, gets away from one defender and finally goes out of bounds. Broncos doing a great job downfield. Good pressure by Courtney Brown. 2-yard gain for McNabb, and let's pick up James Brown.
Hey, Dick, under interim coach Joe Vitt, the St. Louis Rams beat the Jacksonville Jaguars today. Got a big game out of Steven Jackson. 200 total yards from scrimmage, 19 there on that pass play. St. Louis moves to 500 with the 4-4 mark and that victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Back to Dick, Troy, and Pam.
All right, thank you, JB. A huge win for the beleaguered Rams. Meanwhile, it'll be 3rd down and 6 for the Eagles. They have 4 wide receivers, and on the slant, incomplete off the hands of Reggie Brown, the rookie wide receiver, and once again, 4th down coming up.
Well, this time the Eagles try to spread out the Denver Broncos, and as you're going to see, the Broncos are playing a full-out blitz coverage. There's no safety in the middle of the field. There's nobody there. So they're man here, man here, man here, and man here. And you see all of these defenders, 7 of them, and they're bringing all of them.
3 3-and-outs for the Eagles, and a floating kick by Johnson. Charlie Adams returning and getting knocked back in his own right. Forward progress will be the 24, and a great hit by Matt Ware, who was the hero last week when Ware returned the blocked field goal for the touchdown that beat the San Diego Chargers. But so far this game has been all Denver in the game, and the Eagles have to find some way to solve their offensive woes.
Well, and the first thing that they have to do is defensively, they've got to be able to slow Denver down. And if they can do that, then you don't have to get completely out of your game plan. It's still early in this ball game. The Eagles can still try to run the football, but if they're going to, they got to have some success doing it, because you can't allow these players to hit up on Donovan McNabb the way they have so far.
And Troy, if you're looking at the Eagles side, getting a turnover would be huge for them to try to turn away the momentum is gone in this game. Meanwhile, the pass caught by Rod Smith. Rod Smith beating Lito Shepherd and picking up 32 yards and another 1st down, this time into Eagle territory.
You know, Lito Shepherd hurt his knee in practice this week. There was questions as to whether or not he would even play in the game. Rod Smith is the go-to guy for Jake Plummer. He's not the fastest guy, but it doesn't look like Lito Shepherd is playing at full strength. And Rod Smith just does a good job getting by him and picking up a big play.
Meanwhile, Plummer has completed 8 passes to 8 different receivers so far in the game. 1st down on the 44, and there's another one, and that's the tight end, Putzier. And incomplete, did not hold on to it. So Putsier does not hold on to it. And right in the middle of it was Jeremiah Trotter with good coverage downfield.
Well, now they come back with an inside deep crossing route. And this is what Shanahan was wanting to go. He's going to go a deep cross. And again, Jake Plummer has time to throw the football. And because of the speed of Putsier, Jake's able to get the ball to him, but he's just not able to haul it in. Should have been caught. Sheldon Brown comes in and dislodges the ball. But I tell you, Jeff Putsier, over the last 3 or 4 games, he has taken some big hits. He's one of those guys who just gets hit hard all the time.
Mike Anderson. And Anderson picking up good yardage, 6 yards on that play with Michael Lewis, the strong safety, bringing him down. Anderson so far has carried 8 times for 40 yards. That's averaging 5 yards a carry and has scored 1 of the 2 touchdowns.
And now you get into a 3rd down situation, and that's one of the areas this Denver Broncos offense has really had some problems. They've not done a good job converting on 3rd downs. In fact, last week they converted 38% against the Giants, and that's the best they had done all season long. On the other hand, the Eagles have been very good on this down, and they need to be good here.
Tatum Bell in the game, 3rd down and 4. And the Broncos call a timeout. So the Broncos calling their 2nd timeout with 1:27 remaining in the 1st. Well, next week, the NFL on Fox Week 9. Amongst the early games, the Falcons go against the Dolphins. Atlanta on the bye week this week. That'll be a 1 o'clock start. The Giants going west and going against the San Francisco 49ers on the road. And right now, the Giants in sole possession of first place in the NFC East. An Eagle victory would put them tied with New York.
Well, and that's why this is a big game for this Eagles team, is because when you consider the fact that the Giants and the way that they were able to win today against the Washington Redskins, completely dominated that game. The Cowboys won. So now, I mean, this NFC East is really shaping up into a heck of a division, and the Eagles are going to be playing mostly division games here over the 2nd half of the season.
Well, the next 3 games, Troy, are against divisional opponents. But their schedule down the line is not that unfavorable. But today's the important game, 3rd and 4. And Plummer going along the sideline, and Dawkins breaks it up. It was intended for Putsier. And they have gone to the tight end many times so far in this 1st quarter, but Dawkins with good coverage, and that brings up 4th down.
Yeah, you know, Jeff Putsier, he's kind of been the guy so far in this 1st half. And Jake Plummer has gone to him on a number of occasions, and this time, you know, we've seen him run some of the intermediate routes, the shorter routes. This time they say, hey, let's see if we can't get a deep ball for you down the field, but Brian Dawkins does a good job.
So what would be a 56-yard field goal attempt is passed up. Todd Sauerbrunn will be punting instead to Reno Mahe, and does a good job of keeping it in the field of play thus far. Fair catch, and the Broncos are right there, and they're going to down it in the field of play at about the 2. Sauerbrunn with a great job kicking, and once again pins the Philadelphia Eagles in. Now, the Eagles, as we said, really have slumbered the last 2 games offensively, and it's been the kind of a team that has passed 80%, rushed for only 43 yards, and scored only 1 offensive touchdown. And Donovan McNabb sacked 7 times, and we're seeing more of the same so far in this game, Troy.
Yeah, and the 7 sacks that he's taken over the last 2 games, not that he hasn't gotten hit. I mean, he's taken some hits, but of those 7 sacks, a good number of them, I know 3 of the sacks that he had last week were a result of him trying to escape the pocket. And he doesn't have quite that same escapability, but due to the injury that he's got. And so he's got to play a little different game than what he's accustomed to because of his lack of mobility due to the injury.
The ball is spotted at the 3. And here comes the blitz on McNabb once again, and he tries to get it out to Owens on the slant, and unable to make the connection with Champ Bailey on the coverage. We'll be seeing a lot of Champ Bailey and T.O. matched up today.
And I tell you, I mean, they broke the huddle, and Donovan had to hurry up and run to the line of scrimmage because they almost let the play clock run out there. And again, pressure. And you got John Lynch coming off the edge, and DJ Williams gets a hit on Donovan McNabb. And, you know, when you get backed up here where they're at, and you're trying to at least pick up a first down to give your punter some room, and yet the Broncos aren't letting up. They continue to bring people.
Donovan McNabb 0 for 8, his 9th attempt, and this one overthrows his tight end, L.J. Smith. Donovan McNabb has told us before that I want to get the play and be at the line with 15 seconds left on the play clock, and he hasn't had that luxury.
No, he hasn't had that today, and it's hard to really know why exactly that is. If the plays are coming in a little bit slower, a little indecisive as far as what they want to call over there on that Eagles sidelines. But when you've got a team who's coming after an offense like the Broncos are, you can't throw these 4- and 5-yard routes. You've got to drop back, even though you are backed up, and you got to take a shot down the field, and you got to make them pay for it.
Terrell Owens is in the slot left. It'll be 3rd down and 10 from the 3. And the Eagles will call a timeout, so that will be their 2nd timeout. And right now it has been nothing but a nightmare for the Eagles offense, trailing 14-0, and the frustration starts to simmer here.
Well, these wide receivers, I mean, Terrell Owens in particular, you see him going to the corner, and he was open, and I can understand where he would be upset. Now, what he doesn't realize is that Donovan McNabb is back there, and he's got 3 blue jerseys barreling down on him. And so, receivers oftentimes don't understand the duress that a quarterback oftentimes is facing, especially in a game like this. But there's no question that early in games, you want to try to get the ball into Terrell Owens' hands.
Has any receiver ever been not open that you remember?
Not at least in the last 20 years. I mean, maybe prior to when I started playing, but no one that I played with was ever covered.
3rd down and 10. From the 3-yard line, the Eagles with 1 timeout left in the first half with 1 minute to go in the quarter. From the end zone, the pressure on again, and the pass knocked down. Westbrook was the intended receiver. Ian Gold was defending well, and it was Jerome Cox who very nearly got to McNabb and very nearly picked up the safety.
Well, and it looked like Donovan thought that Brian Westbrook was going to block Jerome Cox. I mean, you watch Westbrook, he comes out as though he's going to block, and then he lets him go. And because of that, Donovan, who it appeared looked like he thought he had protection, and then he didn't have it.
High snap, and a great job by Dirk Johnson, Colorado native, just to get rid of it. And Darren Williams already in Eagle territory with a fine return as a flag goes down. Darren Williams with an 18-yard return to the 33 of the Eagles, but there's a penalty.
We got holding, number 40 of the return team during the run back. The 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, Jerome Cox, very nearly the hero on the pressure, called for the penalty. That'll set the Broncos back, but they'll still have the ball, and Andy Reid's got to figure out what to do with this offense. It looks like there are 13 guys out there for the Broncos.
Yeah, and when you get a defense that's playing the way that Denver is, there's no question. It seems like there are a lot more bodies out there. And there's a big hit there. Keith Burns on Mark Semino. I tell you, that punt team and kickoff coverage and all that, I mean, they can have it. You run down there at full speed, and these guys are, I mean, they throw their bodies out there, and you wonder oftentimes how they even get up and walk off the field. Right now, you wonder how Donovan McNabb's getting up and walking off the field because he's taking a lot of hits.
Less than a half a yard gain per play for the Eagles, and the Broncos with a 7-yard chunk per play. 14-0. And the Broncos on the 40-yard line. Tatum Bell. And there goes the pass downfield. Ashley Lalee, if he had his feet in, no, it's an incomplete pass. Did not have both feet in. Lalee protesting. Lito Shepherd was beaten on the play, but the pass will go incomplete.
And as a quarterback, when you're rolling out to your right and you're throwing on the run, oftentimes that ball will drift to your right, and that's why it became a close play. Now from here, it looked like Ashley Lalee got both feet in.
And it's a challenge.
And I think it's a good challenge. The second challenge by Mike Shanahan. There's one. There's two.
Yes.
And now he has to maintain possession of the ball, which he does. And that's a completed pass.
So already a Mike Shanahan challenge.
Denver is challenging the ruling on the field of an incompleted pass.
Broncos won their first challenge, and Ashley Lilly getting that second foot down, and Troy pointed out getting possession. It would be a 37-yard play if it is overruled.
And what a nice receiver Ashley Lilly has turned into being. You know, he's a big guy. He's still continuing to learn. He was struggling last year in terms of getting off coverage when it was pressed, but he's become their big play guy. And now, you know, we take a look. Did he maintain possession? And in my opinion, he did.
Lilly with a 32-yard reception earlier.
You know, you look at what Denver does within this scheme, and they're going to wash everybody down here. This offensive line makes it look like run. And you take a look at how they come off the ball, and now Jake Plummer comes out. There is nobody in front of him, and he's got a clean lane. And what I was saying earlier, when you're throwing the ball as a right-handed quarterback running to your right, the ball has a natural tendency to tail towards the sideline, and that's why it became a much tougher reception for Ashley Lilly than what it probably should have been.
And the Bronco receivers are getting past the vaunted Eagle defenders almost at will today.
You know, we saw it a couple of weeks ago against Dallas. Dallas came out throwing the football. They had a great deal of success both against Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown. And Denver here today has decided they're going to come out and throw the football as well. And the Eagles, as they do most of the times, have matched up one-on-one, and the Denver receivers have done a good job beating it. You know, this was a secondary for Philadelphia that 3 of their 4 guys were Pro Bowl players a year ago, and the one that wasn't, Sheldon Brown, probably should have been. In fact, this year, I would be shocked if Sheldon Brown doesn't go on to make the Pro Bowl. He's having a heck of a year.
And if they win this one, they get an extra challenge.
After reviewing the play, the receiver had control of the football, both feet in bounds. It's a catch at the 23-yard line. First down, no charge timeout for Denver. Denver also, because they have won both challenges, will have one more challenge.
And that's the one thing that Denver has been able to do over the course of this season is create big plays. They've had big plays in the passing game. They've had big plays in the running game. And whenever you have those, generally they lead to points.
And during the challenge, Andy Reid didn't waste any time. He spent the entire time talking with his quarterback, Donovan McNabb, to talk things over. This was a 37-yard play, and the Broncos have a first down on the 23.
Well, as bad as their offense has played, they have no chance if their defense doesn't slow this offense down.
Tatum Bell. And Bell getting to about the 20-yard line for a 3-yard pickup with Kalu and Michael Lewis. And this is the conversation during the challenge between the head coach and the QB.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder what exactly they can be talking about other than, you know, hey, coach, they're bringing more than we can block, and I'm not getting much time to throw the football, because that, in essence, is all that's happened.
And that will be the last play of the first quarter with the score. The Broncos 14 and the Eagles nothing. First quarter stats as we start the second quarter. Total yards 200 for the Broncos and only 4 for the Eagles. Time of possession almost 10-minute edge. Philly has had 4 possessions and 4 3-and-outs. Tatum Bell on 2nd down and 7 going outside, slowed up by Dawkins first and limited to a 1-yard gain. Nick Stockton along with Troy Aikman and Pam Oliver as the Eagles come in 4-2 on the year. And a very tight NFC East race as opposed to last year when the Eagles ran away with it with a 13-3 mark. Jim Johnson's defense tested today, and the Broncos at 5-2 leading the AFC West.
You know, it really is amazing, Denver offensively, to have 200 yards of offense in the first quarter. I mean, that's unheard of against any defense, particularly one that played so well just a week ago.
Javon Kearse with a shoulder injury. Taken out midway through the first quarter, and the pass caught by Charlie Adams, and a first down inside the 10-yard line. So Adams is the third wide receiver. Tackled by Trotter, and the Broncos are threatening to open up a 3-touchdown lead.
And unlike Donovan McNabb, Jake Plummer is being afforded a lot of time in the pocket to throw the football. Of course, Philadelphia has to be concerned with the run game of Denver, but when Jake Plummer drops back, he's had time. Only the one time that he escaped the pressure and made the throw was he under duress.
First and goal at the 9. Putsier moving out to the right. Handoff to Tatum Bell. He's going to get tripped up. Bell saw the end zone but got tripped up. And a 6-yard pickup, and it was Michael Lewis who finally brought him down.
You know, so many times in this offense, the runner is looking for a cutback lane, and so as a defense, you have to stay in your lanes back here on the backside. But this time, Tatum Bell, you saw Indy Kalu right here having to hang back, but Tatum Bell stays on the front side because that's where the hole is. But Indy Kalu can't pursue the backside just in case Tatum Bell tries to cut the ball back.
Second and goal from the 3. And here's Mike Anderson, and Anderson doesn't do much better. Picks up 1 yard. It'll be third and goal from the 2 as Trotter and then Brian Dawkins forcing the play from the secondary, bringing up third down for the Broncos.
Well, this really is a big possession for this Eagles defense when you're talking about going down 21-0 or 17-0. At 17-0, you don't feel quite the same amount of pressure as an offense in terms of having to get away from your game plan as you would if Denver scores here and makes it 21.
Play fake, Rod Smith. Touchdown. Rod Smith beating Brian Dawkins in the corner of the end zone. And it is now 20-0 and a higher mountain for Mr. McNabb to climb here. 2-yard scoring strike. Second touchdown pass for Plummer.
Well, Rod Smith, he goes across in motion, and Brian Dawkins is with him the entire way, man-to-man. And as Brian Dawkins turns to read the quarterback and see what's happening in the backfield, that's when Rod Smith was able to get the separation for the touchdown.
And the team record tied, 65th career touchdown for Rod Smith. Terrell Davis has set the mark, the extra point by Elam. It's 21-0. Rod Smith from Plummer, 3-touchdown lead.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. By Best Buy, thousands of possibilities, get yours. By State Farm, great service, great rates. That's why 40 million drivers trust State Farm. And by the new 2006 Ford Explorer, the best Explorer ever.
And we're back here at Denver. There's Rod Smith, who just scored the third Denver touchdown of the game. The Broncos leading 21-0 in what has been a frustrating day for the Eagles. 7 plays, 60 yards, and Plummer 11 of 15 so far in the game. Exactly what Mike Shanahan wants from him. And there is Roderick Hood returning the kickoff from the 3. And Hood slides forward past the 30-yard line. A 30-yard return. Donovan McNabb going back to work, and it has been a frustrating day as McNabb has been under siege. He's 0 for 10 and not been able to complete anything. 4 yards total for the Eagles thus far in the game, and Terrell Owens gets into the act as far as the frustration is concerned.
Well, the best thing that Philadelphia can do right now is just try to get Donovan a completion, no matter how short it is, but they've got to get this offense a little untracked.
There's Brian Westbrook cutting upfield and close to the first down. So Westbrook, who has carried under 11 attempts a game, lowest among the top ball carriers, stopped by Darren Williams, the rookie cornerback.
Philadelphia, they're already going to a no huddle, trying to change the tempo, and then also trying to keep Denver from substituting some of their pass rushers so that they can't come after Donovan the way that they were able to earlier.
2nd and 1. And on the snap, they might have stopped the play before it got underway. And it is a first down. And they did not have the sticks in order indicating first down.
Well, now they're huddling up. And one of the reasons why offenses will sometimes go to a no huddle in a situation like this is that they don't want the defense to be able to set up their blitz packages. And I think that was a good strategy by Andy.
From the 42, they go to Westbrook again, turning the corner. Tough to run outside against those fast linebackers. A 3-yard gain for Westbrook with Courtney Brown and Dominique Foxworth, the nickelback, on the chase.
And the other thing that we've seen on those last 2 plays, as far as giving the ball to Brian Westbrook, at least then you don't allow this defense to just tee off on Donovan because they know all he's going to do is throw the football.
When you're 0 for 10, you better run the ball a little bit to loosen the defense up. And on 2nd and 7, McNabb's pass, and it is intercepted by Lynch. John Lynch. Al Wilson got a piece of that pass, and Lynch intercepts, and the Broncos get it back in Eagle territory. What else can go wrong for the Philadelphia Eagles? And another hit on Donovan McNabb. Lynch with the pickoff. And that's accurate. Donovan McNabb with a 1.7 passer rating. 0 for 11, and the interception by John Lynch, his first of the year. Broncos with a first down on the Eagle 48. Play action. Trying to blitz. Plummer, flag is down. Jake Plummer is running and slides to the 25, but a marker is down near midfield. That was a 22-yard run pending the call.
Well, the reaction to Keith Adams, it looks like they're going to call it on Philadelphia.
Holding 57 of the defense. We'll add 5 yards to the end of the run. First down.
Keith Adams.
You know, Jake Plummer, he going back to his days in Arizona, this is really the only way he could make plays because he wasn't getting a lot of protection. And I always felt that he's one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the National Football League. And even after getting here to Denver, he doesn't have to run as much because he's got better players around him. He still can get outside the pocket, as we just saw, and create plays. He's a very elusive guy.
And Troy, that was the 22-yard gain, the longest rush of the year for Plummer. First down on the 21 of the Eagles. Pitch to Tatum Bell. And Bell dives out of bounds at the 17, 4-yard gain for Bell.
You go back and you take a look at this interception, and Donovan McNabb was trying to go inside to Greg Lewis, but Al Wilson gets the hand on the ball. And John Lynch, you're going to see 47, he's on Terrell Owens. He's far removed from where the ball's being thrown, but because of the deflection, he's able to make the interception. And sometimes you get lucky that way. And in fact, I played with a guy, Larry Brown, in the Super Bowl. There was Super Bowl MVP because of a couple interceptions like that.
Sometimes it just falls that way, and it's fallen that way for Denver. Second down and 5. Anderson back in the game at running back, charging toward the first down margin, and is just shy as we check in now with James Brown in a game break. JB.
Hey, Dick, Carolina got an impressive game today. A career-high 201 receiving yards from Stephen Smith. Has to be the leading candidate for Comeback Player of the Year. They improve with that victory to 5-2. Let's go back to Dick Stockton and Troy Aikman.
All right, thank you very much, JB. Tampa Bay losing to San Francisco right now, but still a 5-0 record, and 3 very tight teams in the NFC South. Anderson, first down as he gets to the 6-yard line. Sheldon Brown stops him after a 6-yard pickup. And with nearly 6 minutes gone by in the second quarter, the Broncos are on the verge of opening up a 4-touchdown lead.
Right now, this Denver offensive line is just coming off the ball and just opening up some big holes for Mike Anderson. I mean, you watch the hole that he's able to get into, and Sheldon Brown having to come up and make the tackle. And that's not an easy proposition. Mike Anderson is 235 pounds and a big physical guy, and when your safeties are the ones making tackles on a running back, you've got problems.
First and goal from the 6. Anderson gets to about the 3, and The Broncos are one team that don't run for show. They run because they mean it, and they get 3 yards and really dedicated to running the ball, and they'll run it on 3rd and long to success, as we saw last week against the Giants.
Well, they're committed to running the football, no question, and that's been a trademark of Mike Shanahan ever since he got here to Denver. And you think about the 1,000-yard runners that he's had since he took over as head coach, and Terrell Davis and Alandis Gary, Mike Anderson, Clinton Portis. Last year they had Reuben Drones. I mean, it seems it doesn't matter who they have back there. They're going to pick up 1,000 yards by year's end.
Nearly at 100 yards so far in this game. And this is a play action from the 3. Plummer fires. Caught for the touchdown by Steven Alexander. One-handed grab.
Steven Alexander, he's just going to get to the back of the end line and then run a square in. And Jeremiah Trotter, great in run support, not real good as a cover guy, and a heck of a catch by Steven Alexander.
First touchdown catch of the year, and a spectacular one at that for Alexander, who began his career with the Washington Redskins. And Jason Elam on once again, and the extra point is good, and the Broncos now lead it 28-0 over the Eagles. Here is the touchdown catch by Alexander, and how much is John Lynch enjoying it? His interception set it up for the Broncos.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by Miller Lite. On your next beer run, grab some great tasting, less filling Miller Lite. Miller, good call.
After the neck injury by Lynch, no one seemed to want to pick him up, and the Broncos are glad they picked up the former Tampa Bay star. As you see the scoring drive, 6 plays, 48 yards. Alexander from Plummer. Alexander, and there you see on the other side a different look. 28-0. The Broncos lead the Eagles. Kickoff by Sauerbrunn, and Roderick Hood on the return. And Hood is down at the 22-yard line. Well, there's a reason critics call Prison Break the best TV show of the season. And on Fox tomorrow, find out why. It's all about to break wide open with a special 2-hour event tomorrow at 8, 7 Central, right here on Fox. Viewer discretion is advised, and dressing up for this promo are the cheerleaders.
Yeah, well, the prisoners in Prison Break are not nearly as attractive as what they are. So I'm told.
And the striped socks kind of make the outfit. First down at the 21 for the Eagles. McNabb getting some time, but where's he going to go? And Donovan McNabb, who's only run 14 times coming into this game, picks up 11 yards and a first down.
Well, that's an accomplishment in itself. I mean, sometimes that first down is the hardest thing to get. And when you've got an offense that's struggling, and even though nothing was there and Donovan had to break outside the pocket and scramble in order to get it, it's a good place to start, because the way that they have looked so far in this first half, 16 yards total offense coming into this drive, they're just looking for any kind of success.
And still no completions for McNabb. Will try to get one here on first down, and not even close as it bounces in front of T.O. Terrell Owens on the shallow cross. Second down and 10.
You know, Donovan McNabb, I was watching him a little bit in pregame warm-ups, and he was struggling a little bit throwing the football, and you just don't know how much of it has to do with his inability to really step into the throws. But you know, that's not a difficult pass. That's a 10-yard pass in the NFL by an NFL quarterback, and when you one-hop him like that, there's something not right.
Second and 10 in the 32. No comparison, that should say, between McNabb and Plummer. Westbrook on the screen, and Westbrook tripped up at the 37-yard line, getting 5 yards on the play. We talked to McNabb about the hernia possible surgery, and he says, you know, if you have surgery, you know, for the hernia, it may take a lot longer than people say. Before you know it, you're out for the whole year and more.
Well, the thing about it is I know a lot of people said, hey, why don't you have the surgery, miss 6 weeks, and then you come back and you'd be there for the playoffs and you'd be healthy. There were no guarantees that if he had the surgery that he would ever come back. And so because of that, that's why he's going to play this thing out as best he can. And when he can no longer play, then he won't play.
3rd down and 5. And McNabb going deep and nearly making the catch. Greg Lewis covered by Dominique Foxworth, the rookie nickelback, as McNabb tries to go deep, and all of a sudden the players have to be separated back at the 30-yard line. And Hank Fraley right in the middle of that one.
Well, Greg Lewis, I mean, he really has played well for this team this year, and that's a play when your offense is struggling that you just got to be able to make it, and he knows that. At any time you got to make a play like that, particularly in a game like this. And Donovan knew that he had an opportunity, and for a quarterback when you're struggling, that's one of those plays that kind of helps you out.
Dirk Johnson punting again. Darren Williams giving ground. Still on his feet. Flag is down as finally Darren Williams is tackled. A 2-yard loss from where it happened. Good pressure by Matt Ware downfield. Penalty marker as the Broncos will have it at the 22 pending Bernie Kupar's call.
Illegal block in the back, number 45 of the return team during the run back. 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
So Rock Alexander with the illegal block, and so the Broncos will have the ball pushed back for the first time today. They've enjoyed just about everything thus far. And that screen pass to Westbrook moments ago ended Donovan McNabb's longest career incomplete streak at 12. He's 1 for 14, and the Broncos, with 6:02 to go, have a 1st down at the 12. He had 12 incompletions, and here is Plummer. Wide open is Rod Smith. And he gets it out to the 35-yard line. Big game for the Broncos of 23.
You know, again, Rod Smith, he's running the deep crossing route. And Mike Shanahan, as I said, this is something that he felt that the Eagles would have some problems with. And again, you get Jake Plummer to the outside. You get so many people pursuing, trying to slow him down, and then he's able to find Rod Smith out there in the flat. And you're right, Dick, there was nobody around him.
Rod Smith, 3 catches, 1 of them for a score. And a 1st down at the 35. Tatum Bell is in there, but it's going to be a straight pass and a completion to Ashley Lallee. Another 1st down to the 46-yard line of the Broncos, getting 11 yards.
You know, right now, when you talk about Philadelphia and what needs to happen, think back to their game against Kansas City when Kansas City was going right through them like a hot knife through butter, and Sheldon Brown was able to make the interception and run it back for a touchdown, and that completely changed the momentum of that game. And then Philadelphia got untracked offensively, and really that's what they're looking for right now. Somebody has to step up and make a big play.
Eagles and Redskins facing the same scenario. Redskins shut out big by the Giants. Here's a deep pass to Lallee, and the pass nearly intercepted by Sheldon Brown. You had just talked about a possible turnover, and you mentioned Sheldon Brown, but he couldn't hold on.
Well, you have an opportunity to make a play, and right now, whether it's Sheldon Brown or anyone else, they just haven't made the play. And Sheldon Brown is going to come from the safety position. He does line up at safety on occasions, but he's coming over the top and had a chance and should have caught that one. Jake Plummer realized that he made a mistake and didn't know where Sheldon Brown was located when he turned it loose.
Plummer had completed 6 in a row before that incompletion, and he now throws a second one. Charlie Adams had it and couldn't hold it. Let's check in with Pam.
Yeah, Dick, down on the Eagles sideline this afternoon, you just get the sense, you don't get the sense that the superior, confident team we are used to seeing is either of those things today. I've noticed even in pregame warm-ups, many players just seemed lethargic. They didn't seem up. But even before the carnage we're watching down, Philly just seemed to be lost on both sides of the ball, Dick. There's no life down here at all.
Great observation, Pam, because this is a team that has been plagued with problems, and not all of them concerning what you do on the field of play.
Well, the pictures support what Pam just said.
3rd down and 10. Plummer. And it's caught by Todd DeVoe. And DeVoe short of the first down, but gets into Eagle territory, gets 8 yards. Roderick Hood on the coverage, but it's 4th down. When you consider where the Broncos started, they'll gladly take a punt from that situation.
Absolutely. That was a good stop by the Eagles defensively. They needed to do it. And now the Eagles offensively are going to get the ball. Not in great field position probably, but it'd be nice for them if they can string together a drive and try to get some points here before this first half ends.
Todd Sauerbrunn will be kicking to Dexter Wing. Well into the end zone for the touchback. And the Eagles will get it out on the 20-yard line. Well, the Broncos scored on their first possession. Mike Anderson with a 2-yard run to make it 7-0. And then Kyle Johnson, the fullback, with a 6-yard toss from Plummer. Plummer in action again to Rod Smith. Short 2-yard pickup. 21-0. They wanted more. They got more. Great catch by the tight end, Steven Alexander. And that's where we are with 3:50 remaining in the first half. 28-0 Broncos.
Well, and what a difference a week makes. Last week, Donovan McNabb completed 25 passes in a row. A week later, he comes out and he goes 12 straight passes without a completion.
First down for the Eagles on their 20. And on a double reverse to Terrell Owens. Doesn't fool the Broncos, and the defensive lineman, Ebenezer Ekubon, the former Brown, one of 4 ex-Browns on this team, limited TO to a gain of a pair.
You know, and then you talk about the Eagles defensively and what's happened to them so far in this first half. Last week, after rebounding against a difficult loss to Dallas, they gave up only 290 yards of total offense and held LaDainian Tomlinson to 17 yards rushing. Already today in the first half, the Broncos have 306 yards of offense.
Wow, and since '99, both points given up in a half, 30 by the Eagles, and the Broncos are knocking on the door with 28. Here's pressure again on McNabb, but he completes the pass to Reggie Brown. Donovan McNabb, and let's see whether that gives a boost to the Eagles. Reggie Brown, 2nd-round pick from Georgia, 35 yards with Champ Bailey on the coverage.
And this is what you have to do if you're the quarterback. You're going to get hit. You're going to have pressure. That's what Denver's doing. But because there's no safety in the middle of the field, he's able to get separation there from Champ Bailey. And Reggie Brown runs a good route. Donovan McNabb hangs tough in the pocket and delivers a good throw.
And that's more yards on that one play than the Eagles have accumulated all afternoon. It is a first down on the 43 of Denver. Lamar Gordon is the back. And McNabb drilling it and making the catch is Westbrook. Ryan Westbrook getting to around the 10-yard line, beating John Lynch 33 yards, and the Eagles finally showing life on offense. And the clock winding down to the 2-minute warning. Broncos lead 28-0, but the Eagles showing some life. Coming up on the Visa Halftime Report, J.B. Terry, Howie, and Jimmy will have scores and highlights from around the league. And the Fox Sports ticker has up to the second scores and stats. It'll be first and goal for the Eagles on the 9. Trailing by 4 touchdowns. Bronco team is totally dominated in this first half on both sides of the ball. McNabb to throw, tipped. And it was Trevor Price who got a hand on that one. Second and goal coming up.
Well, this has been a good drive for Philadelphia to get the ball where they got it and to drive down the field. And Larry Coyer there, the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos, he was telling us, he said, this is the most scary offense that they will face all season long because of the weapons. And he said, regardless of what the score is, I'm never going to be comfortable because they are so explosive and can score so quickly. And that's what we're seeing here so far, at least on this drive.
And here is Westbrook on the inside handoff, getting down to the 1-yard line. So a solid run of 8 yards by Westbrook. Ian Gold makes the stop. Each team has 1 timeout remaining.
Well, you're right, Dick. That was a tough run there by Brian Westbrook. And I think that, not just with Brian Westbrook, but with other smaller backs, people always think that they can't make the tough runs and pick up tough yardage, but he certainly was able to there.
3 tight ends as Smith, Steven Spock, and Mike Bartram all lined up with Lamar Gordon in the backfield. Fake to Gordon. Here's McNabb. The pass caught. Touchdown to L.J. Smith. So the Eagles finally get the offense going. A 1-yard TD strike with 1:13 remaining in the half, and it's 28-6.
That's a big score right before the half like that, and a good job by Donovan McNabb making this throw, because he has to lay this ball up in order to get it to L.J. Smith. Not an easy throw, but a nice job by Donovan McNabb. At times you'll see him make some really bad throws, and at times you see him make some very difficult throws like that one to L.J. Smith.
And Jose Cortez, the new place kicker, adding the extra point, and it's 28-7. So for Donovan McNabb, his 13th touchdown pass of the year and a 28-7 game.
Part of the success that the Eagles have been able to enjoy this year in the passing game has been the development of L.J. Smith. He's really come into his own. They say that he learned a lot in how to run routes playing with Chad Lewis. But a good route there. They got lost thinking run, and Donovan McNabb, as I said, he lays it up over the top, and L.J. Smith's able to haul it in for the touchdown. Now, it's a nice drive by Philadelphia.
And the former wide receiver turned tight end from Rutgers, also a basketball prospect in his own right, as you look at the scoring drive as Philadelphia finally gets on the board.
You mentioned him having played basketball. He could have gone on and played Division I basketball in college, and you look around the league at all the really good tight ends right now, and all of them seem to have a basketball background.
Tony
Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, and even those that maybe didn't play in college are guys that were very athletic and very good basketball players in high school, much like L.J. Smith, because so much of that tight end game is like basketball in terms of using your body for position, knowing where the holes are within the zone defenses. And I've always believed that the tight end is the biggest weapon an offense can have when you've got a receiving tight end playing for you.
Well, you had one of the best in Dallas for many years.
And we were never the same when he retired after our '95 season.
Cortez on the kickoff. Charlie Adams on the return. And gets it to the 25. Well, if you want to go know more about L.J. Smith and his likes, let's take a look. There, second career would be a music producer. That salmon looks good, and notice how L.J. Smith look never changes, whether he has the salmon or likes to cook, and even right now. By the way, you talked about Jay Novacek, who was the tight end you were referring to with the Cowboys.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, you and L.J. Smith have at least a little bit in common in the fact that you both love to cook.
First down on the 25-yard line, and the quick out to Todd DeVoe. And DeVoe loses a yard on the play. Cook marshmallows maybe, but that's about it. Sheldon Brown on the coverage.
That's a great tackle by L.J. Smith out in the open field, and this becomes Sheldon Brown. I got L.J. Smith on my mind talking about how well he's cooking and the salmon and basketball and all these other great things that he's done.
You're hungry for salmon is what made you say that.
Sheldon Brown, really a nice job there on the tackle, because the last thing that the Eagles can afford to have happen is for Denver to be able to come away with points after the Eagles were able to go down and get 7.
Plummer handing off to Mike Anderson. Anderson getting it out to the 30-yard line for 6 yards. Kalu on the tackle, and the Broncos will say we have seen enough and done enough for the first half, and the crowd giving them a standing ovation. For the Broncos, despite giving up that late touchdown, have dominated the Eagles. That's the end of the first half. T.O. shut out. But the Eagles have 7, but the Broncos lead 28-7. J.B. Terry, Howie, and Jimmy with the Visa Halftime Show.
The Visa Halftime Report is sponsored by Visa. With Visa, you're protected.
Well, complete domination by Denver in the first half. T.O. for Philadelphia. No catches, only 29 yards on the ground. A rough one for Donovan and company.
All right, trying to keep up in the NFC East, but it's Mike Anderson for a 2-yard touchdown. Denver off and running. On the road, the Eagles in the red zone are not very good defensively. McNabb under pressure by Trevor Price, throws incomplete, 0 for 10 in the first quarter by McNabb. Plummer having a huge first half, 3 touchdown passes. This one to Kyle Johnson of 6 yards, puts Denver up by 14-0. And then this one to Rod Smith, who ties Terrell Davis with 65 touchdowns for careers, 28-7. It is the Broncos all over the Philadelphia Eagles, who struggled win on the road.
And speaking of struggling, boy, not much going on here. Buccaneers only 3 points, and San Francisco has given up the most points in the league. Chargers all over the Chiefs, 21-3. Antonio Gates in the battle of tight ends there looking impressive indeed. Dolphins with Nick Saban returning to LSU's Tiger Stadium on top with a football low-scoring score there. Boy, look at that. Redskins spanked by the Giants 36-0. Tiki Barber, a big day, a career day on the ground. Yes, indeed. Cowboys took the Cardinals to the woodshed, 14 consecutive over the Cardinals at home. Bengals now 7-0 against the NFC. Packers fall to 1-6 for the first time with Brett Favre at the helm. Bears now sole possession of first place in the NFC North, winning it in overtime. Culpepper for the Vikings, who lost that one today to the Panthers, could be out for the season. MRI will confirm that tomorrow, but a nasty-looking knee injury sustained in that loss to the Panthers. Panthers win their 4th straight. They improve to 5-2. Rams with Steven Jackson, 200 total combined yards. Impressive display. Joe Vick getting the job as the interim coach. Their Raiders, first back-to-back victory since last September. And the Texans pick up their first victory this season over the Browns and scored their first quarter points this season. Howie, Denver looking pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, Troy talked about Denver's desire to pressure Donovan McNabb. Didn't feel they could do it with their front four, wanted to bring blitzes. They've done that. The perception of the Denver Broncos, who had come into this game with 14 straight quarters without a sack, but they lead the league in pressures with 81. They have pressured Donovan McNabb throughout the entire game. I'll take 10 pressures versus 1 sack.
It'll be interesting to see if Philadelphia can get back into this game, and even though they get the ball to open up the second half, how they get back in is with their defense. They haven't been able to slow Denver down. 21 minutes for Denver, only 8 minutes for Philadelphia. They've got to stop them, get them back, get the ball back.
Denver is not a good fourth quarter team defensively. That's where Philadelphia could make this thing interesting.
All right, some of you will go to local news. Others come back here for the Blonde Bomber.
Yes, it was a scary first half for the Philadelphia Eagles, who fell behind 28-0, got a late touchdown as we start the third quarter. And Troy, I guess the Eagles have to hope that this is going to be maybe a carbon copy of the Kansas City game when they fell back early and then rallied and ended up winning.
Yeah, that's what they've got to hope for. And I think that the points that the Eagles were able to score there right before the half are huge. And now they get the kickoff here to start the second half. They need to string together another good drive, try to come away with some points. And then the key is going to be this defense. They've got to do a much better job, obviously, than what they did there in the first half, giving up over 300 yards of offense. But if they can shut them down, Philadelphia offensively has a chance. This is an explosive group that can score a lot of points in a hurry.
And if you pick Jake Plummer in your fantasy league, you're doing well. 3 touchdowns, 10th time in his career he's thrown 3 or more. Mike Anderson is a TD run. Rod Smith a touchdown catch. And there you see our fantasy update. For the latest in fantasy stats, log on to foxsports.com. And there is Jake Plummer. And Jake Plummer, doing to the Eagles what he's used to doing. He has been more effective against Philadelphia than any other team in the NFL. 16 touchdown passes, his highest versus any team in the league. Likes playing this team. Roderick Hood returning the second half kickoff for Philadelphia and brings it out to the 30-yard line. 25-yard return as we check in with Pam Oliver.
All right, Dick, the Eagles have to be pretty encouraged by the way the half ended on such a positive note. Denver coach Mike Shanahan wants to bring that encouragement to a screeching halt. He told me at halftime that he expects the Philadelphia Eagles to make a number of defensive changes, and that his team, who has a history in recent games of having to let teams back into ball games, that the Broncos have to be ready to avoid that kind of trend today. Back to you.
All right, Pam, and Terry Bradshaw remarked how the Broncos have struggled in the fourth quarter, giving Eagles hope, but this is not the way to start, as Donovan McNabb is sacked by Trevor Price and a loss of 3 yards. That's the first sack for Denver today.
It was the first sack, and the first sack for Trevor Price, and one that really probably shouldn't have happened because Donovan McNabb had time to throw the ball. Champ Bailey on Terrell Owens, and Terrell Owens does not look like he's running at full speed, and the other receivers that were covered as well. And because of that, Trevor Price was able to get pressure, but Donovan had time had he have found somebody that was open.
Missed 14 games after having lower back surgery last year. And the sackless streak is over, and the flag is down.
Ball start.
Ball start.
49 offense.
Fullback Josh
5-yard
Parry.
penalty, still second down.
Let's take a look at our halftime statistics. The Broncos already at 100 yards rushing. And the rest of the story, and not a pretty one for the Eagles.
No, and too many times. I mean, this has been a reoccurring theme for the Philadelphia Eagles as far as how they've gotten off to such slow starts, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. But after they had come out there at the end of the second quarter and got a touchdown to go in at half, they've started this possession much like they started the game.
Second down and 18. The ball on the 23 of Philadelphia. The pressure, and down goes McNabb again. They just can't block these guys. And Darren Williams, the rookie corner from Oklahoma State, with a sack and a loss of 8 more.
Well, and the reason they can't block him, Dick, is because they don't have enough blockers to block him. Denver keeps bringing more people than what Philadelphia has blockers, and Donovan McNabb just never sees it. It looked to me like nobody should have been responsible along that offensive line to block Darren Williams, and yet Donovan McNabb does not recognize that there's a free blitzer coming to his front side, and that's why he gets hit.
The Eagles offense seeing what all the Eagles teams that face their defense have had to look at all year. A relentless blitzing defense. And the play is blown dead. And let's see if there's a delay of the game call before the play got underway. It's a 5-yard penalty, delay of the game.
Before the snap, delay of game, offense. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
And I don't know why this is happening really, because Andy Reid for the most part does a good job of getting plays in, but I think right now they're a little bit confused as far as what Denver's doing within their blitz packages, that they're having to spend more time trying to decide what the next call is going to be, and they're not getting out of the huddle, because that's 3 or 4 times now that we've seen that they've had problems getting the ball snapped prior to the play clock running down.
So now it's 3rd and 31. And the ball at the 10-yard line. McNabb finally has some time, and he gets it out to Lamar Gordon. And the first time he's touched the ball, and the Broncos allowing 13 yards before Ian Gold brings him down, and it's 4th down, and punting situation, Dirk Johnson will come in.
You know, and you got to give some credit to this Denver defense and the job that they've done, because there are a lot of weapons for this Philadelphia offense, and yet they continue to bring pressure. They continue to play one-on-one outside, and they've done a heck of a job.
The kick will bounce at the 40, picked up by Charlie Adams, and he comes to the near sideline and takes a hit from McMullen, and the flag goes down, and I think McMullen will be charged with a late hit.
And that's just frustration, Dick. I mean, Billy McMullen, he's well out of bounds. There's no need in order to even to do this. You watch him, he's out of bounds, and he makes the push. And you see players sometimes when they're frustrated, and certainly the Eagle players are frustrated, but you can't make a play like that that adds more yards to already good field position for this Denver offense.
Unnecessary roughness, late hit out of bounds, number 80 of the kicking team. 15 yards from the end of the run, first down.
Boy, we've seen the looks of the Eagles all day long. Here's the latest from Donovan McNabb.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 40.
And we're back in Denver. Dick Stockton, Troy Aikman, Pam Oliver, as the Broncos, for the third time, started in midfield or in Eagle territory. They're at the 46 of Philadelphia. Slant caught by Rod Smith. First down, it appears. Take a look at our schedule next week on Fox in the NFL, checking out the early games, and a big NFC South battle between the Panthers and the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. And Joe Buck will be back working with you, Troy. I've enjoyed the 3 weeks here, and by now you're probably glad to get him back.
No. Well, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to working with Joe, but I thought you were going to say I was looking forward to kicking you out. But no, I've enjoyed it as well, and I think that game next week, when you talk about Tampa Bay and Carolina, that NFC South, it just about is as competitive as what the NFC East is this year.
Absolutely, and it's like round-robin games the rest of the way. Should be exciting in the NFC. Here's Plummer. And incomplete. Putsier was the target and covered by Michael Lewis, the Eagles' strong safety, and Lewis slow getting up. Biggest Eagle injury today, of course, to Javon Curse, their defensive end, who had a shoulder injury, taken to the locker room in the first quarter, came back briefly, and has remained out of the game. So we will take a timeout here early in the third quarter. Denver leading 28-7.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Own it on DVD Tuesday.
Back here in Denver, Quentin Michael has replaced Michael Lewis at strong safety for the Eagles. Second down and 10 on the 36 of Philadelphia. Anderson. And Michael Anderson going outside to the 29-yard line, a 6-yard pickup. Taking a look at the AFC West race today. Broncos coming into the game leading at 5-2, but if they were to stumble, and if Kansas City were to beat San Diego, the Chiefs would take over first place in the AFC West. But right now, San Diego is leading Kansas City, and Denver in front 28-7. And it appears that their lead will be safe.
Well, that's another one of those divisions that's up for grabs as well. And I think that's one of the great things right now about the NFL is that all of these races are so tight.
3rd and 4. Plummer overthrowing Putsier, and a flag goes down. And pressure by Andy Kalu, but Jeremiah Trotter putting his hands up, claiming that he did not make contact with Putsier.
Yeah, from here on Putsier, I couldn't really tell that Jeremiah Trotter had really done anything wrong. And right now they're starting to signal as though it's going to be on Denver.
Pass interference, number 88 offense. 10-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Well, it was an offensive pass interference call, and the officials talked it over. So the penalty will bring the ball back closer to midfield. They'll mark it at the 40 of the Eagles. Third down and 14 for Denver, leading 28-7. Out of the shotgun, 4 wide receivers, and the incomplete pass to Todd DeVoe. Sheldon Brown on the contact, timing it up perfectly, and that'll bring up 4th down.
And Jake Plummer, he's trying to plead his case to the referee that there was pass interference involved on that play. And I thought Denver did a nice job of trying to throw the slant route because they weren't going to necessarily pick up the first down, but if they get a little bit more yardage, they could have put themselves in a position to maybe try for the field goal, and that could have been called pass interference because Sheldon Brown had to go through the receiver in order to defend that pass.
Todd Sauerbrunn will be doing the kicking, and Dexter Winback. Fair catch. And Wynn makes the catch at the 11-yard line. That was a 29-yard kick, but it pins the Eagles back somewhat once again. The report on Michael Lewis, he has a quad contusion and is not going to return. The Eagles will start from their 11. And look at the Broncos ready to tee off. The handoff to Westbrook. And Westbrook will lose 2 yards on the play thanks to Michael Myers.
Well, they woke up the crowd here at Mile High. It's about as loud as what they've been so far in this game. They got the Eagles backed up. And it gets tough anytime you got the ball backed up towards your own goal line and you got the crowd making noise the way they are here in Denver. It's very difficult then for the offensive tackle and the receivers to hear snap counts, and you expect pressure off the edge because of that.
Boy, they really split the receivers out, especially left here. Pass going out to the right, caught by Terrell Owens. Owens breaks the tackle, and he is going to outrace the secondary and will get in for the touchdown. 91 yards. Talk about a spark. Champ Bailey missed him first, and Lynch chased him down, and the Eagles can climb to within 2 touchdowns.
Well, that's one way to quiet down a crowd. And then watch Champ Bailey. He pulls up, he blows out his hamstring already, and he hurts it again. And you get the ball to Terrell Owens, he makes one guy miss, and he's got great speed, and it's just what the Eagles needed at this point in the ball game.
That is a career-long touchdown for Terrell Owens, 91 yards. Jose Cortez with the extra point, and all of a sudden the complexion of this game has changed. The Broncos lead has been cut in half to 28-14, and it's T.O. who gets it started for the Eagles.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by the new Sprint, the official telecommunications service sponsor of the NFL. By Budweiser, bright, crisp, clean, pure. This is Budweiser, this is beer. By Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar, eating good in the neighborhood, Applebee's. And by Nissan, who invites you to shift the way you move through the world.
The Eagles had lost 2 yards before the touchdown strike, career long for not only Terrell Owens but for Donovan McNabb as well. 91 yards, 2 plays, under a minute, and the Eagles now trail 28-14. Rock Alexander returning this kickoff, his first kickoff return, and doing a pretty good job of it before the Eagles gang up on him on the 28.
Well, you go back and take a look at what happened on that last play. You got Terrell Owens right here, and then you got Champ Bailey as the corner, and there's nobody in the middle of the field. And so all you've got to do if you're Terrell Owens is make one guy miss, and that's Champ Bailey. And even though these other guys are trying to pursue him, they're not able to get to him before he gets into the end zone. Terrell Owens with 1 reception, 91 yards for the touchdown, and Champ Bailey, we'll have to wait and see, but he came up hobbling with that hamstring.
And you saw him, they were working on him on the sideline. First and 10 at the 27, and Tatum Bell picking up 5, and right now, time for a game break with James Brown.
Hey, Dick, take a look at this one here. Tampa Bay quarterback Chris Sims back to pass. His ball hits off the head of the official, bounces into San Francisco Brandon Moore's hands. That led to a San Francisco 46-yard field goal by Joe Nedney. It is now 12-3. San Francisco on top of Tampa Bay. Back to Dick Stockton.
All right, JB, and of course the Buccaneers want to retain undisputed possession of first place in the NFC South, and they need to beat the 49ers to do just that. Meanwhile, Plummer firing incomplete. Flag comes down. Ashley Lally defending by Roderick Hood, and was it defending too close?
Well, it looked like contact from here. Roderick Hood jumped it a little bit early, it appeared. They're going to get in and talk about it again as to whether or not it was. I don't believe the ball was tipped. If the ball had been tipped.
There is no ball on the play. There is no ball on the play.
Well, Roderick Hood working against Ashley Lally. You see the grab there. Okay. but the ball's in the air and there's still contact. I'm surprised that they picked the flag up on that one.
And you know, Lally had his arm around Roderick Hood as well.
Maybe that's what the official saw and then decided that there was no foul. There's Ashley Lally, who looks like he's got some type of muscle pull as well.
Lally's caught 2 big plays, 32 yards. 3rd down and 5 for Jake Plummer. And there's a screen out to Todd DeVoe, and the Eagles are there to make the play. A loss of 1. So you can feel the momentum beginning to change as the Eagle defense stops the Broncos. 4th down coming up.
Well, that's just a great job defensively by the Philadelphia Eagles in stopping Denver right away and forcing them to punt. They try to go with a wide receiver screen, but the pursuit by Philadelphia, and they weren't able to get any kind of yardage out of it, and that's what they needed. When the offense goes down and gets the touchdown the way that they did, the defense is the key in getting the ball back to their offense.
Sauerbrunn punting to Dexter Wynn. Good kick by Sauerbrunn. Wynn on the 22 is hit immediately, but Terrell Owens getting the Eagles back in the game, and a penalty flag down at midfield. Good kick by Sauerbrunn and terrific coverage by the Broncos.
Illegal block in the back, number 75 of the receiving team. It's a 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
And it was Jaquay Thomas. So Terrell Owens, the Eagles have never lost a game when Owens has scored a touchdown for them. 13-0. Can the streak continue? Once again, Terrell Owens, 91-yard touchdown catch. Longest of his career for him and for the quarterback.
And here's Champ Bailey lined up on Terrell Owens again. I'd go after him with that hamstring.
Starting at the 18. Now Bailey giving up a lot of ground. It's a running play to Westbrook. And Westbrook trying to find some opening. Gets 1 yard. Let's check in with Pam.
Hey, Dick, the play we saw in the Eagles' last possession is exactly what Champ Bailey told me before the game could not happen. Champ said his #1 priority when it comes to defending Owens is to not let him catch and run. There's no injury update on Bailey as far as the hamstring goes, but when I asked him before the game if the hamstring was okay, he did not answer it. He just kind of smiled at me, and reading between the lines, I got the impression that the answer was no, Dick.
All right, Pam. 3 holding penalties last week against Plexico Burris for Champ Bailey, and a penalty marker down, and the play is blown dead, who's caught by Owens. And we may have a false start call against the Eagles first.
False start, number 41 offense. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Steven Spock, the rookie backup tight end, to L.J. Smith.
And remember now, that touchdown that Terrell Owens ran happened on the Eagles sideline. So Andy Reid and the rest of that staff saw the injury to Champ Bailey. And so it would not surprise me at all. Of course, on that last play, they tried running the slant route to Terrell Owens on Champ, that they want to test him out and make sure that that hamstring is going to hold up.
Bailey is on McMullen right now. And the linebacker is on T.O. Here's McNabb going underneath. Another penalty is thrown, and Westbrook is tackled at the 25-yard line, picking up 10 yards. Nick Ferguson, the strong safety for the Broncos, makes the top stop. But another penalty call coming up.
Well, it was thrown at Champ Bailey, so it's either going to be a defensive penalty on Champ Bailey or it's going to be offensive pass interference.
Holding 24 of the defense. It's a 5-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
Right on it with Bailey.
Yeah, here it is. He's covering Greg Lewis, and Greg Lewis again, he's running the slant route, and you see the right arm grab Greg Lewis, and I've got to believe that if you're not 100%, which Champ Bailey certainly isn't, he didn't come into the game 100%, how much has the hamstring affected him right now? But when you're not able to run with your legs, then you find yourself grabbing, and that's what Champ was doing on that last play.
1st down on the 19. Bailey on Owens, and they run it with Lamar Gordon. And Gordon carries it out to within 1.5 yards of first down, getting 7 yards. DJ Williams and Nick Ferguson in on the tackle. 6.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. The Eagles trying to stage a comeback.
And that's the big thing, is that there is still plenty of time. Here we are midway through the third quarter, and when you're only down 2 scores, they can be patient in what they're trying to do. The last thing the Eagles need to do is feel like they have to go down and create these big plays. There's still plenty of time in this ball game.
2nd down and 3. McNabb up the middle and through the hands of L.J. Smith. Definitely a catchable ball for Smith, and it would have been a first down for the Eagles.
You know, Donovan does a pretty good job when he, kind of a ball end over end. It looked like somebody got a hand on it, and that's what made it a difficult catch. But Donovan does a good job of looking over the field and then being able to get underneath to his underneath guys. But, here's a relatively critical 3rd down for Philadelphia to try to keep this possession going.
They need 2 yards. On the rollout, McNabb fires, and it's nearly picked off by DJ Williams, right in his hands. And 4th down coming up, and the Eagles can't get the 2 yards with 2 downs and will have to kick.
And that's how we saw the interception in the first half on this same play when Al Wilson got a hand on the ball. This time, Donovan McNabb tries coming inside to Terrell Owens, and DJ Williams should have had the interception.
Darren Williams back to return the punt from Dirk Johnson. They're going to let it bounce, and it goes out of bounds. And they will mark the ball at the 34-yard line.
Part of being able to close out games, which is something that Mike Shanahan and Larry Coyer said we need to do a better job of, because especially over the last 3 weeks, they've not been able to shut people down when they've had to. That was an opportunity by DJ Williams to get a big turnover, which would have led to at least 3 points, maybe a touchdown, and then you create a little separation.
And of course the question is, 2nd and 3, two downs to get a first down. They don't run the ball. Running the ball here is Tatum Bell, and when we talked to Andy Reid, he said, I have to do a better job when it's 2nd and 3, 4, and 5 to run the ball more. Those are the spots I can do it. He had a couple of chances and passed it up.
It's a great point, Dick. They run Brian Westbrook on 1st down, and he gets 7 yards. 2nd and 3, and they throw it, and then 3rd and 3, and they throw it, and they fail to get the first down.
Meanwhile, 2nd and 8 for the Broncos on their own 36. Tatum Bell. And Bell is stopped shy of the 40-yard line, picking up 4 yards. The rookie Mike Patterson bringing him down.
We heard Pam Oliver talk about the conversation that she had with Mike Shanahan and how Jim Johnson was going to be changing up some of what he was going to be doing within his scheme here in the second half, and he certainly has. He's come out here in the second half. This defense is playing much better football, and the yards are much harder to come by for Denver.
Ashley Lallee, who is shaken up, has returned and is split wide left, 3rd down and 5. And there's Plummer on the rush, and falling down and unable to make the play is Adams. So 4th down coming up, and the Eagles will get a chance to get the ball back.
Yeah, and credit pressure on that, because Jake Plummer had people in his face and was not able to deliver a good ball. Had he have been able to, they would have been able to pick up the first down. But the Eagles are a defense that brings pressure, and they're as good as there is in the league when they do it, and that's when they play their best football, is when they're getting after the quarterback.
Sauerbrunn kicking. Dexter Wynn running it from the 29 is hit immediately and knocked back to the 30-yard line. Tough first half for Donovan McNabb. Had thrown 12 incompletions before he completed one. Terrell Owens did not catch anything, and it was 28-0, including that TD pass to Steven Alexander. But then T.O. broke one, a 91-yard touchdown run and pass after career highs for both McNabb and Owens, bringing the Eagles back 28-14 with 4:24 remaining, and a big difference in the second half.
And since Terrell Owens ran that 91 yards for the touchdown, we're not seeing as much blitzing out of Denver either.
And off to Westbrook. Westbrook gets to the 36-yard line, gets 5 yards. DJ Williams.
Now they come back again with Brian Westbrook on first down to try to run the football. And Andy Reid, like we talked about, he said coming in, I've got to do a better job of getting the ball to Brian Westbrook and running the football. There's no question that Andy does not want to throw the ball 77% of the time, which is where they were coming into this game. But if you're going to call runs, you got to have success doing it.
And this would be one of the downs you would run the ball. 2nd and 5. McNabb will throw. He's got Owens. T.O. has it. Terrell Owens with the reception gets inside the 20 as he beats Champ Bailey again.
Well, he's one-on-one outside with Champ Bailey, and Champ Bailey can run as well as anybody in the league. You can tell he just can't run. He's got no explosiveness due to the injury to the hamstring, and Terrell Owens runs right by him. Quite frankly, Champ Bailey does a good job just getting him to the ground, and that's why now Larry Coyer, defensive coordinator for Denver, he's reluctant to bring the blitz because here, as of late, Terrell Owens is beating it.
T.O. goes out of the game, but Champ Bailey stays in there as Westbrook gets no gain on the play. And you pointed it out early. What is Champ Bailey doing in the game, hampered like he is?
Well, maybe he's better than anything that they can bring in his place. You know, Lenny Walls, who normally is their third corner, he's not playing today because he's injured, so they'd have to go with the rookie. And is that something you really want to do against Terrell Owens? And here's the play right here, a well-thrown ball to Terrell Owens, but right now, if they're going to play one-on-one with him on Champ Bailey's going to have a tough afternoon.
T.O. still on the sidelines. Westbrook breaks a couple of tackles and dives inside the 15-yard line, picking up 4 yards. Trevor Price putting the pressure on, so Terrell Owens back on the field. He has 2 catches, 137 yards, and a touchdown. And the Eagles, as the clock winds down to 2 minutes to go in the third, and here is Bailey, who's been thrown out 8 times, and he's been the victim of Terrell Owens for the most part. 3rd down and 6. Ball is at the 15.
Excuse me, Dick. It's so difficult when you get the ball into the hands of Terrell Owens and getting him on the ground. That's really when the play starts for a defensive back.
3rd down and McNabb's pass. Caught by Westbrook. He'll score. Touchdown. $14 yards from McNabb to Westbrook, and the Eagles climbing to within a touchdown of the Broncos. And all of a sudden, all of the doubters for Denver in their second half swoons, Terry Bradshaw brought it up, especially in the 4th quarter. And now the Eagles with 20 unanswered points, about to make it 21. And how elated is Andy Reid down there, Troy?
Well, he's awfully excited about the way this team has come out here in the second half and performed.
Jose Cortez with the extra point. So Denver led 28-0 at the half. And then Philadelphia coming back with 21 unanswered points. Westbrook with a TD reception.
And a big reason why is because now Donovan McNabb is being afforded some time in the pocket to throw the football. And, you know, Brian Westbrook, he starts in the backfield. They try to jam him up because they know that he's going to be the guy they're trying to get the ball to. But they can't, either with Ebenezer Ekubon or John Lynch, get him to the ground. And just a well-executed play by Philadelphia. Good job by Brian Westbrook and showing his determination of getting that ball into the end zone. And now, here we are towards the end of the 3rd quarter, and it's a 7-point ball game.
And you know, the Broncos are facing that 5-1 syndrome that they've had the last couple of years when they've lost the next 2 games to go to 5-3, wound up 10-6, lost to the Colts in a blowout both times in the wild card game. They knew coming in that if they could get to 6-2, it would be a big swing game for them. And now once again, their second half woes starting to have an effect on them, and it's 28-21.
Well, this becomes a big possession now for Denver offensively. They've got to be able to move the football, take some time off the clock, and keep this Philadelphia offense on the sidelines. But take a look at Philadelphia and what they've been able to do. They needed to be able to put together something offensively. And as we talked about, the defense had to step up and shut down Denver, and both of those things have happened.
Gerald Warren on the sideline trying to rally the troops as Cortez kicking and deep into the end zone, out of the end zone, and it hits the crossbar.
You know, one of the reasons why Andy Reid brought Jose Cortez in and got rid of Todd France this past week was because he wanted a stronger leg on kickoffs. Well, I think he got it. He hit the upright.
Well, maybe it's the altitude as well, but you're right. Cortez, stronger leg. Let's take a look now at the NFC East. The Giants shutting out the Redskins 36-0. And, of course, a win by Philadelphia would put them in a tie for first place. But if they lose, the Giants will own first all by their lonesome. Here is Plummer on first down with play action. Load of time and throws the ball into the Eagle bench.
I think back to that first half when Jake Plummer would drop back to pass, and he really had his pick of receivers to throw the football to. A number of guys running open, and they were winning on the one-to-one matchups. Right now, this Philadelphia defense has clamped down. They're showing why they've been regarded as one of the best defenses in the National Football League for quite some time. And this secondary is showing why they've been so dominant and why 3 of them made the Pro Bowl last year.
3 possessions, 3 punts. Not many yards for the Broncos. 2nd and 10. Plummer's pass knocked away, and a big play by Keith Adams. Adams batting the ball away. And that will bring up 3rd down and 10.
Jake Plummer had some time in the pocket, and Keith Adams just does a good job there.
Kyle Johnson, the fullback, was the receiver.
And they've done a good job across the board. And you know, you can feel the momentum, and it's shifted quite some time ago, but there's, you know, the energy in this stadium and in this crowd, what they showed earlier in this half is gone.
Look at the contrast in total yards alone. 3rd and 10 from the 20. Here's Plummer. Plummer's pass, and it's knocked away again. Great play by Sheldon Brown, and Ashley Lee would have been off had he made that catch.
A good play by Sheldon Brown because the ball was thrown behind Ashley Lee. If Jake Plummer is able to get the ball in front, he's running a square in, and Sheldon Brown's in a trail technique. But if Jake Plummer had gotten the ball out in front, Ashley Lee makes that play because Sheldon Brown had to stretch out just to get to it with the ball behind him. And that would have been a huge gain because there was no one else out in front of him.
So 3 straight 3 and outs for the Broncos here in the second half. And Sheldon Brown, who had a huge game last week, didn't make the Pro Bowl, the only member of the secondary of the Eagles not to go to the Pro Bowl last year. The Bearcats called for by Dexter Wynn. Eagles have great field position. So does James Brown. He always has terrific field position. Game break.
Hey, great position here by Joey Galloway. Dick, take a look here. Joey Galloway with a nice move here. They were trailing 12-3 Tampa Bay. This great effort by Galloway, 78 yards to pay dirt, 6 catches, 143 yards. Tampa has now drawn within 2 of San Francisco. 7:38 left in regulation. Back to Dick Stockton and Troy Aikman.
All right, JB, plenty of time left in that game. Champ Bailey on the bench right now, not out there, and has been replaced by Dominique Foxworth, rookie from Maryland. First down at the 41. Brian Westbrook on the run, breaks a couple of tackles, and how huge has Westbrook been? It's a first down, 12-yard gain into Bronco territory as we check in again with Pam.
Yeah, Dick, that Denver defense getting a little tense with the recent turn of events. One player reacted by throwing his helmet when he came off the field. Another one screamed to no one in particular, "What are we doing out there?" Champ Bailey headed over to this trainer's table, and now he is just standing on the sideline. Back to you.
All right, Pam, and Terry Bradshaw talked about the Broncos' problems late in the game. Hand off to Westbrook. And Westbrook unable to tackle Westbrook. He gets 4 yards on that play to the 44.
Well, of course, this defense is different anytime Champ Bailey's not on the field. It's different when he's on the field with a strained hamstring. But now that he's on the sidelines, all of a sudden you're more reluctant to bring pressure because you don't want to put these corners, these young corners, in one-on-one situations. They got Darren Williams, a rookie, and they've got Foxworth, a rookie as well, and so you're going to try to give those guys help with some safeties.
That's the end of the first quarter. The Eagles have come back to within a touchdown. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Denver, the start of the fourth quarter. Dick Stockton along with Troy Aikman and Pam Oliver. The Eagles outscoring the Broncos 14-0 after scoring a late touchdown in the second quarter. And now, after trailing 28-0, down by 7. And 2nd and 7 coming up for the Eagles. And going deep this time for Terrell Owens. And just past him. Owens had beaten Foxworth, who has replaced Champ Bailey at cornerback. And it'll bring up 3rd and 7.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, Larry Coyer's caught in a little bit of a quandary because he knows he needs to bring pressure in order to get after Donovan McNabb. But yet when you do that, now you're exposing those outside guys. And you've got Dominique Foxworth, a rookie. He's played well, but he is a rookie. And on that last play, he was matched up one-on-one with Terrell Owens, and he is again here.
3rd down and 7. Pressure picked up the first time. And this pass is caught. First down at the 29 by Greg Lewis. Good low catch by Lewis. Good for 15 yards. And the Eagles with a first down on the 29.
You know, Greg Lewis, he does a good job of going down for that ball. And they're trying to, well, and they got it snapped because.
And a flag is down.
Because it looked like he might have trapped that one much like he did in the first quarter.
Quick snap, Westbrook on the carry, flag down. Here's Bernie Kukar again.
Denver is challenging a ruling on the field of a completed catch.
And that's why the Eagles wanted to get the snap off in a hurry. But the challenge made it under the wire.
Now they have to show that he didn't have possession because the ruling on the field was that it was a catch. And so now there's got to be indisputable visual evidence that he did not catch it, and I don't know that they're going to be able to show that.
And earlier they won a challenge on a low pass to Lewis in the first quarter.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by GMC Trucks and SUVs. We are professional grade. By McDonald's. By Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. And by Lipitor. Ask your doctor if Lipitor is right for you.
All right, let's take a look. Here is the catch or no catch. They ruled it a reception.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they ruled it a reception that's what they're going to stick with because we've seen nothing to suggest that he did not catch it. And you know, like I said, once they have the ruling that it was caught, then you've got to have some evidence that shows that it was not, and I don't think they have that at all. 3rd
challenge for Mike Shanahan because his first 2 were successful, and this is a critical verdict because either it'll be 1st and 10 at the Denver 29 or 4th and 7 at the Bronco 44.
Which means either a punt or at least you're in position to attempt a field goal if you don't get any more yards.
After reviewing the play stands as called. There's a charge timeout for Denver.
So they're out of challenges, but they get hit with the timeout, and the Eagles will have a first down at the 29, and this crowd understandably has quieted in dramatic fashion since that 28-0 first half, and the Eagles scoring right before intermission. So Denver with 2 timeouts left.
But when you get in a game like this, you know, you just need somebody to step up and make a play and give the team some confidence and inject some life into the group. And you know, Terrell Owens did that. He made Champ Bailey miss. He went 91 yards. And even though at that point they were still down 2 scores, it was amazing how the momentum completely shifted to their side.
Well, the Broncos have been outscored in the fourth quarter 37-3 in the last 3 games. And by a big margin throughout the year. Westbrook off the left side, cutting upfield, and is tackled at the 24 after getting 5. DJ Williams making the play. Less than a minute gone by, fourth quarter, and the Eagles getting close. As you mentioned, no longer is it touchdown or nothing for them. They can accept a field goal at this point. There you see.
Well, they're excuse me, Dick. They're in position to get a field goal, but clearly they want to get a touchdown out of this drive. And you know, Dominique Foxworth, I keep going back to it, the rookie. he's not here, but on the last several plays, he's been on Terrell Owens one-on-one, and I would expect the Eagles to go after him.
Second down and 5. And McNabb fires, and unable to hold on to it was Owens. He had both feet in bounds, but could not hold on to the ball. It'll go incomplete, and Foxworth, as you mentioned, shadowing him all the way, and that will bring up 3rd down and 5.
You know, Donovan did a good job just getting away from the rush there. You know, what he has shown is an inability to really get going, but he did there, and L.J. Smith in the middle of the field. And Donovan, he's tried that twice. One was intercepted, and one should have been intercepted by D.J. Williams. And I think he's a little more reluctant to try to get back to the inside guy now.
Haley still on the sidelines. 3rd down and 5. McNabb getting time, and the pass, and it's picked off. The interception by Dominique Foxworth. So the rookie who has had the task of watching Terrell Owens comes in and makes a big interception. The pass was intended for Reggie Brown. Foxworth picks it off, and that is a huge defensive play for the Broncos. Denver gets the ball back on the 20. And as you see, it has started to rain here in Denver, and the forecast is for snow this evening into tomorrow morning. And right now, after McNabb throwing the interception, the Broncos getting it back on the 20, still in front, 28-21.
A heck of a job by that Denver defense, stepping up when they had to make a play and doing it.
Anderson is the running back, play action, throwing the ball on 1st down, completing to Rod Smith, getting 9 yards.
Here's what they missed, however, the Eagles did on that last play. Lamar Gordon right here is going to run a little crossing route, and they're going to be a natural pick with him and Brian Westbrook, and you're going to see nobody goes with Lamar Gordon, and he's wide open. Now, Donovan's not necessarily supposed to see that, but when you've got the throw down here towards the goal line, because Reggie Brown goes on a high angle, it opens the door for Dominique Foxworth on the interception.
On the running play, and the fake, and the pass is caught by Jeff Putsier. Going against the grain, 28-yard pass as Plummer hitting Putsier. Michael Lewis defending on the play, and all of a sudden the Broncos, after a key defensive stop, march into Eagle territory.
Yeah, and they really needed this because they've been going 3 and out on their last 3 possessions, and they come off on the naked boot. And again, you know, Jeff Putsier, they've just lost him in coverage a number of times today, and they picked a poor time to do it now.
1st down on the 43. Second 1st down this half for the Broncos. And the pitch is to Mike Anderson. Anderson gets an opening. And Mike Anderson getting about 8 yards before Roderick Hood puts him down. Call it a 7-yard gain with 3 minutes going by in the 4th.
Well, it's starting to rain, and you just wonder how slick the balls are now. And this one is a good toss, but Mike Anderson was unable to get it the first time. And usually when that happens, you're not going to get much yardage out of the play because of the pursuit from the defense. But there was a big enough hole that Mike Anderson was still able to pick up some key yards.
Anderson is 75 yards on 15 carries and a touchdown. 2nd down and 3 on the Eagle 36. Flags.
Ball start, 65 offense.
And a false start
5-yard penalty.
Cooper Carlisle, the right guard. Well, Fox's football coverage doesn't end when the games are over. Stick around for the OT. This is not just a post-game show. JB, Terry, Holly, and Jimmy will give you the extended highlights, exclusive interviews, and their outstanding analysis that you enjoy in the pregame show. Look ahead to next week's action as well. It's the OT, and it's a special show after the game coming up next only on Fox.
We may be looking at a little OT ourselves.
7-point game early in the 4th. 2nd down and 8 for Denver. Mike Anderson. Anderson with a big break. Flag is down back at the line of scrimmage as Anderson is tackled inside the 20 by Jaquay Thomas. It'll be 21 yards pending the call, and they're going to bring it back. Flag will be against the Broncos. That nullifies a huge game. considering the momentum shift.
Holding. 66 offense. 10-yard penalty.
So Tom Nalen and Cooper Carlisle back-to-back penalties.
Well, Tom Nalen, he's the veteran center, 66. He's engaged right now with Jeremiah Trotter, and you can see the right hand on the shoulder pad there, and actually a pretty good job by the official even seeing that. You know, a lot of times these offensive linemen will get underneath the shoulder pads like that, keep their hands inside, and it's never detected by an official. But a good job there by the umpire seeing the hold.
I don't think Mike Shanahan knows it's raining. Second down and 18. Back to the 49 of the Broncos. And it's raining harder. Wide receiver screen to Charlie Adams. And Adams is tackled at the 49 of the Eagles, getting 7 yards. Still about 11 yards shy of the first down, with Trotter and Hollis Thomas combining to make the play.
Well, it's a big possession in the game. I mean, just when you're talking about Denver and what's happened in the second half and their inability to get any points going, and you know, the penalty gets them back because they have the big run that got them in good position, and now they're faced with a 3rd and long. You got to be careful here in these conditions if you're Jake Plummer trying to force a throw.
And that's one thing he has not done though so far this year, is force too many things. Completes the pass to Todd DeVoe. DeVoe is off inside the 20, and he'll go in for the touchdown. "44 yards, Plummer to DeVoe, and the Broncos getting the big interception on one side and then the big touchdown on the other to open up the 34-21 lead.
Well, we talk about the conditions, and DeVoe runs the slant, and you got Roderick Hood, and the ball's thrown a little behind, which is why DeVoe has to then turn around and go to his left. If it had been a good throw, Roderick Hood makes the tackle, but because it wasn't, Roderick Hood slipped when trying to come back out of the break.
Jason Elam trying to give the Broncos a 14-point lead, and he does. With just under 10 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter. A big turn of events, and the Broncos trying to keep command. Dawkins trying to get to Plummer, just a little too late.
Fox NFL Sunday is sponsored by UPS. What can Brown do for you?
Five plays, 80 yards. Todd DeVoe on the right. His first NFL touchdown catch was with the Ravens practice squad last year. First-year wide receiver out of Central Missouri State. And the kickoff heading for Roderick Hood, who is the other factor in that drama, and Hood brings it out to the 33-yard line, a return of 31 yards.
You know, you go back and you take a look, and again, because the ball is thrown behind Todd DeVoe, is why they're able to score the touchdown, because Roderick Hood is breaking on the ball, and the ball's on the back shoulder, which forces him, then DeVoe, to come to the outside. And when Roderick Hood tries to stop himself and reverse his field, that's when he slips due to the wet grass. Sometimes a poor throw is your best friend, and it certainly was here for Jake Plummer. Not that it wouldn't have still been complete, which it certainly was, but if he throws it on the upfield shoulder where it should have been, it's probably not a first down.
First down, Eagles on the 33 in the rain, and the pass, unable to hold on to it, is Owens. And that will bring up second down and 10. 9:41 remaining in the 4th. Denver scored the first 28 points. Eagles the next 21, and then the big touchdown here, opening up a little breathing room for the Broncos.
Yeah, and now that it's back to a 14-point game, now there's a much more sense of urgency for this Eagles team offensively in being able to get some big plays and get some big chunks in order to come away with points.
Second down and 10. Losing the ball was McNabb, and he picked it up and covered up, and will wind up losing a yard in the process.
Boy, that's the last thing you can have happen on 2nd and 10, and now facing 3rd and 10. Of course, last week, Andy Reid went for it on 4th down, backed up, but I don't think there's any way you can do that at this situation in the game with how much time's left on the clock. And You know, sometimes you get in these types of conditions, and your center, Hank Fraley, may have a hard time getting a grip on the ball, and the ball may not be coming up like what Donovan's used to.
3rd down and 10. McNabb swings it out to Westbrook. And a flag is down, and trying to hold on to him was Ian Gold. 5-yard gain, but there's another flag. Here's to be against the Eagles is the preliminary signal. Maybe a holding penalty.
I'm sure Denver will decline this since Andy's already brought
Holding, 63 offense. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
Fraley holding. So Gold looks up to the rainy heavens, and 4th down, and the Eagles will have to kick. There's Fraley.
And we talk so much about what's happened with Denver defensively and the points they've given up in recent weeks. Well, this was a heck of a job on this possession, stepping up and going 3 and out.
Eric Johnson, a native of Montrose, Colorado, with the kick. Charlie Adams backing up inside the 15 and is hit and will go down to about the 10-yard line. Great play by Dexter Wynn on special teams following the 50-yard punt. Just under 9 minutes remaining in the 4th, 35-21. Broncos lead the Eagles. You're watching Fox Sports, broadcasting in HD and presented by DirecTV. So a steady rain here in the Mile High City. 1st down on the 13 for the Broncos. Mike Anderson getting the call. And Anderson picking up about 8 yards before Brian Dawkins stops him.
You know, we haven't talked a whole lot about Mike Anderson, but he's done a heck of a job running the football. He's got 16 carries, averaging well over 5 yards per attempt. And these have all been tough yards for him, too. I mean, he has had a few holes, but for the most part, the yards that he has gotten have been very tough runs, and he's broken some tackles along the way. And, you know, you get in this point in the ball game, whether it's Mike Anderson or Tatum Bell, you want to secure the football, but you also want to be able to pick up some first downs running the ball. 2nd down and 2.
And here's Anderson, and he gets the first down and more. Talk about how tough he is. He joined the Marines out of high school, did Mike Anderson. Then he went to college and was a 27-year-old rookie his first year.
Well, his first year, he rushed for over 1,400 yards, and, you know, then they moved him to fullback after that, and did it with a smile on his face, and then they got moved back to tailback. Last year, he had an injury in training camp, missed all of last year's season, and has come back this year. Both he and Tatum Bell coming into this game on pace to have over 1,000 yards rushing.
9 yards on the last play, 92 yards in the game for Anderson. First down on the 31, and they go back to Mike Anderson. And he picks up a couple of yards, and the clock continues to run. 2-yard pickup. Want to welcome our viewers joining us here in Denver. The Broncos were up at one time 28-0. Eagles came back to within a touchdown, but a big interception and then a Broncos score. That's where we are now, 35-21. Under 7 minutes to go in the 4th. 2nd down and 8 for the Broncos on their 33. As you can tell, a very rainy second half here in Denver. Tatum Bell, who can get it going on the outside, does it here, and Tatum Bell inside the 20 goes in for the touchdown. No flags are down. $67 yards for Tatum Bell, and what a 1-2 punch the Broncos have had in the running game.
Well, Mike Shanahan told us, as we talked about a little bit earlier in the game, if you only limit his carries to 10 or 15 carries a game, he has the ability to go the distance on any one of those. This was his 10th carry of the game, and he went the distance. A good job by Matt Lepsis, Kyle Johnson, secure in the corner, but because of the speed of Tatum Bell, he's able to outrun Sheldon Brown and go up the sideline. A runner without his kind of speed does not turn that into a touchdown run. Tatum Bell is just too explosive.
67-yard run, and Jason Elam with the extra point, and the kick is good, and the Broncos are opening it up now 42-21. They were threatened in the second half, but have pushed the Eagles away, and they were threatened for sure in the second half. It was 28-7. Terrell Owens beating Champ Bailey, 91-yard touchdown, and then Westbrook breaking a tackle and going in. They were down to one score, and then the big interception by the rookie Foxworth, the touchdown to DeBow on the spin move. And now you see Tatum Bell on the 67-yard run, and the Broncos, who got a scare from the Eagles here in the second half, have really opened up a huge lead at 6:31 to go.
You know, I think this is a team, when you talk about the Denver Broncos, it's starting the year out 5-1, and as we take a look at what's happened in this game, I mean, the Denver Broncos now have over 500 yards of offense. Pretty remarkable. Of course, that long run there by Tatum Bell certainly didn't hurt anything, but, you know, coming into this game, based on what had happened so far in this season at 5-2, a lot of people wondering, okay, is this Denver team different than what they've been the previous 2 years, or are they the same team? Well, they've proven here today they are different, because they're going up against an outstanding team in the Philadelphia Eagles, and they've put on one heck of a performance here.
They sure have, Troy, and they're coming back, and this is the swing game that all the fans here were talking about. 6-2 tastes a lot better than 5-3 at the halfway mark with the bye week coming up, something the Broncos have not managed in the 2 previous years. Kickoff, Roderick Hood will down it in the end zone for a touchback. Well, you mentioned early, 1,000-yard rushers, and it doesn't matter who they are. Mike Shanahan has had plenty of them. Terrell Davis for several years. Remember Olandis Gary in 1999. Mike Anderson, well, we've seen him today. Clinton Portis for a couple of seasons, and last year Reuben Drones, who was traded for Cleveland for a couple of those defensive linemen.
You know, it's a tribute to Mike Shanahan, obviously, and how good he is as an offensive coach, and Gary Kubiak, the offensive coordinator. But it's also a credit to Alex Gibbs, who was the offensive line coach here for so many years, who now is the O-line coach in Atlanta, and also Rick Dennison, who took over for Alex Gibbs when Alex Gibbs took a year off, and the job that he's done. And so there's a lot of people out there that think you can just plug in anybody in this system, you're going to run for 1,000 yards. I don't think it's quite that simple. They've had some talented guys, but when you trade Clinton Portis, it's because you have confidence in your scheme that you can put a talented guy back there and do well.
They keep coming. Well, there was a penalty and a big conference going on, and they have not really said what the call was, but they're explaining it, or Bernie Kukar is, with John Lynch. And the Eagles seem to be backing up. Mike Anderson and Tatum Bell on the year, and combined for 1,122 yards. As you mentioned, both headed for 1,000 yards in the season, but in this game alone, Troy, Anderson has gained 95 and Bell 94.
It's really remarkable. I mean, Mike Anderson is the big slugger. I mean, he can certainly run and he breaks tackles, and then you bring in a guy like Tatum Bell, who's just the home run.
Illegal use of hands on the receiving team. That penalty has declined. First down, touchback.
You know, and Tatum Bell, he's had runs like this, not quite of that length, but he's had big runs in each of the last 4 ball games, and you know, that's a nice luxury to have if you're the Denver Broncos, when you get him out in space and know that he can go the distance like that each and every time he has the ball in his hands.
Second round draft pick last year, and the Eagles with 6:31 to go, first down on the 20. Do the Eagles have another rally in them? McNabb completes to Terrell Owens, and a first down to the 37-yard line, picking up 17.
You know, there's been some criticism of this Philadelphia Eagles no-huddle offense and how they've executed. They have had some problems. You know, going back to last year and then in some of the games this year.
And this pass is low, but it's a catch to Reggie Brown for 9.
Of course, you go back to the Super Bowl last year and their inability to get in and out of the huddle. And
there's McNabb struggling to get up.
And it doesn't look like he's going to come out. He took a pretty good hit there in the pocket after he got rid of the football, and it looked like maybe landing on the legs there of his offensive lineman may have been in that groin area.
Ebenezer Ekubon on the hit. Here's a hit right here on Brian Westbrook by Courtney Brown, and a loss of 3 yards. So now the Broncos playing inspired defense, and McNabb is taking punishment here in the fourth.
Now here's another look at it, see if we can see exactly what might have happened. And of course, we already know, well, it looks like the foot there right in the rib cage to the left side. But, you know, with the various elements that he has, it's hard for us to try to determine what exactly may be. But he is still out on the field. And well, this game's not over with just under 5 minutes, but you still got to be concerned about his health.
He played almost a whole year on a broken leg, so you know what he's capable of doing. 3rd down and 3, incomplete. And you know that the Eagles will go for it on 4th and 3, considering the score. Terrell Owens, the intended receiver, coverage by Jerome Cox. So it's 4th down. They need 3, and the Eagles need to keep the ball.
Well, the one thing that we know is whenever you're struggling in this league and you lose games, there's always a lot of criticism that goes around. But this Eagles team obviously did not come out and play very well early, but I thought they showed a lot of character, and that's why they've been able to win the number of games that they've been able to win, by trying to get back into this game. And it was just a little too late, I would say.
4th down and 3, and the pass nearly intercepted. Intended for Smith. Ian Gold got his hand on it. Fourth down, and the Broncos will take over on downs. Chargers leading 28-20 over the Kansas City Chiefs. So a Bronco win. Kansas City could be headed for another setback. Chiefs would go to 4 and 3 if they don't win. Broncos 6 and 2, and San Diego would be at 500 at 4 and 4 if they get the win. Broncos with a 1st down on the 44 of the Eagles. 4:46 remaining in the 4th quarter. Mike Johnson, or Anderson, that is, Mike Anderson, and a gain of 18 yards. Mike Anderson brings it to the 26. Time for another game break. Here's JB.
All right, Dick. Hey, a battle between arguably the 2 tight ends in the league, Antonio Gonzalez and Antonio Gates of San Diego. Antonio Gates, 10 catches, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. Chargers, 3rd consecutive victory over Kansas City. They win it by 8. Back to Dick Stockton and Troy Aikman.
And coming back after the loss to the Eagles, so San Diego 4 and 4, Kansas City 4 and 3. Denver will lead in the division. Mike Anderson has 113 yards. 3rd time this year he's gone over 100. Carries again, using up more clock, and picks up 3 yards.
You know, I know in talking with Mike Shanahan and Larry Coyer, and you ask them, is this team better than what they've been the last couple of years? And emphatically they say yes. Now obviously we have to go out on the field and we have to prove it, and it's a big test this week against Philadelphia. But you know, you really do get the sense in visiting with them that they really like this team. You know, Jake Plummer is playing very well. Larry Coyer and the job that he has done now in his 3rd season as defensive coordinator, they're playing well. They've gotten better along the defensive line, and I agree. I think this is a better football team than what they've been.
2nd down and 6. Mike Anderson drives for the 1st down inside the 15-yard line, getting 8 more yards. As we wind down to 3 minutes remaining in the game. Putsier limping off the field for Denver.
Boy, he had a heck of a game today too, and he's played well really all season long, and the job that he's done. And you know, the other guy who had a heck of a game is Jake Plummer, and you look at his numbers and what he's been able to do. You know, now what, in his 6th game without an interception, and that's what's plagued him. You know, last year he threw for over 4,000 yards, which was a career high, but he again had 20 interceptions, and that's always been the knock on him, and he's just been playing great football for this team.
And the 309 yards through the air is the season's high for Plummer, as Tatum Bell gets down to the 10-yard line, getting 4 on the play. Mike Anderson with 124 yards rushing today. He had 120 last week in the losing game to the Giants. He scored a touchdown both weeks, and the third time this year Anderson has gone over 100. And right now, going out of the game will be Sean Considine. A 2-minute warning here in Denver with the Broncos comfortably in front. Two minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, and the Broncos leading 42-21, getting a big scare from the Eagles in the second half, thanks to Terrell Owens with a 91-yard touchdown reception. But the total yards stored, look at that one. Denver over 550, and the Eagles, after a slow start, 343. Second down and 6. Tatum Bell is the running back. The ball is at the 10 of the Eagles. They give it to Bell, and Bell gets to the 8-yard line. 1 yard officially on the play. Want to remind you, coming up, OT, a post-game show with the gang in Los Angeles. Tiki Barber's record-setting performance and an emotional post-game comments, all coming up. Extended highlights, analysis by our guys in the studio, JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy, and a thorough post-game analysis. Of course, Wellington Mara, funeral on Friday, and this entire football weekend dedicated to the great Giant owner, passed away at the age of 89. Bell, and Bell getting down to the 6-yard line, and so a 3-yard pickup. So in this game, Mike Anderson and Tatum Bell have both gone over the 100-yard mark. You don't often see that.
Well, they came into the game, Denver did, that is the #2 rushing team in the National Football League behind the Atlanta Falcons. And right now in this game, they've got 249 yards of rushing offense, and I've got to believe that they'll be the #1 rushing offense in the league next week.
Fourth down and 3, and the Broncos running the ball on 4th and 3 to Tatum Bell, who scores. So Tatum Bell gets the touchdown on a 6-yard run. And what a day for the Denver Broncos running attack, as they now have a 48-21 lead. 107 yards for Bell, 126 for Anderson.
And if you're going to run for these kinds of yards, you've got to have these big guys up front doing a heck of a job for you. And they have. They have not only throughout the day today, but really since game 3 of this year, because the first couple of games for them, they struggled running the football. But since that time, nobody's been able to slow them down. Last week, they rushed for 191 yards. And then, like I said, today over 250 yards. And that offensive line's done a heck of a job.
And Elam with the extra point makes it 49-21. So the Eagles came within a touchdown. And then the Broncos with a big interception by Foxworth, which turned the tide, then scored 3 touchdowns to put this away. And while we have a moment, I want to congratulate you on your nomination for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A lot of the great names, and you leading the way. And it looks like that you can't get away from Reggie White, because he's on the list too.
No, and you know what's funny is when I realized that the National Football League was different from any other level of football that I had played, was my first year against Reggie White and the Eagles. And I had dropped back, and he got through the line, and I was trying to run away from him, and he ran me down from behind at 330 pounds. And I said, this is an entirely different ball game when you've got guys that size that are coming after you. There's no question that Reggie White's going into the Hall of Fame. It's very sad for everybody and disappointing that he won't be here to see it. As for me, if it happens, it would certainly be great. There's a lot of terrific players that have played this game that are not in Canton, but what an honor it would be.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. There's a guy in there, John Elway. 26 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. Stay tuned for OT coming after the game. Huge day for Jake Plummer and the Broncos. No turnovers by the Broncos today. And on the return, Dexter Wynn. with 19 seconds to go. We told you that on the OT, Tiki Barber's record-setting performance and emotional post-game comments, and of course a lot of that had to do with the Giants' reaction to the passing of Wellington Mara. With great respect, dignity, it was really a head of state funeral on Friday in New York. I know Pat Bowlen, the owner of the Broncos, was there. He put the welfare of the league ahead of the New York Giants, and that speaks volumes, Troy.
Well, it really does. He was a pioneer in that regard, and how ironic it is that at a time of his passing, the league is really at a crossroads when it comes to making a decision on revenue sharing and what's going to happen in the labor agreement, which has been so positive for the growth of the National Football League, hinges on what ultimately is decided by these owners. And we all know what Wellington Mara would have wanted.
Coy Detmer in at quarterback, giving to Lamar Gordon as time begins to run out. And of course, you look at the Giants and you know how inspired they had to be. They all attended the funeral on Friday and defeated the Redskins 36-0. But right here, the Denver Broncos have defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 49-21. 6-2 for the Broncos. The Eagles drop to 4-3, and we'll be back here in Denver in just a moment. Back in Denver, the Broncos beat the Eagles 49-21 in our UPS leaderboard. Jake Plummer tying a career high with 4 touchdown passes. Season high 309 yards. Mike Anderson 126 yards and his touchdown on the ground. Terrell Owens 3 catches and a touchdown, 154 yards. In our Lipitor play of the game, the Eagles had narrowed the deficit to 7 points, and then Jake Plummer found Todd DeVoe. First NFL touchdown, opened it up, the first of 3 straight scores, and the Broncos run away with it.
Well, there were so many players in this game that had great plays that allowed the Denver Broncos to put up the points that they were able to. You say Todd DeVoe, and then, of course, Jeb Putzier and Jake Plummer. Just a great performance all the way around.
So for Troy Aikman and Pam Oliver, Dick Stockton saying so long. And that's the story on a rainy Denver afternoon as the Broncos go 6-2. And right now we're going to send you out to our studios. James Brown and the OT. So long, everybody.
Welcome to the OT, presented by Lowe's, improving home improvement.
All right, this is indeed the OT here in Los Angeles. Full house, Jimmy, Terry, Harry, yours truly, James Brown. Our marquee matchup, the Redskins and G-Men. The Giants' thoughts were definitely on the late Wellington Mara, the team's owner, and one of Mara's favorites, Tiki Barber, was definitely inspired after an opening word for the late owner.
We ask now that you observe a few moments of silence in memory of Giants president Wellington Mara.
One of Wellington Mara's favorites, Tiki Barber, first play of this football game, takes this pitch out of the eye, breaks it out to the outside, 57-yard run, set up a Jay Feely field goal. Feely 5 of 6 field goals on the day. Then in the third quarter, 4-yard touchdown by Barber, a record rushing performance, over 200 yards. Giants win, take care of Washington 36-0.
And that was just the second time in NFC history a team has scored 54 more points one week and shut out the following week. And again, afterwards, Tony Siragusa caught up with Tiki Barber.
Thanks, JB. We're here with Tiki Barber. Tiki, 206 yards, a career high rushing for you. Couldn't have come on a better day.
No, it really couldn't. It was special for me considering the events of last week. And thank you, brother. I knew we were getting off to a good start. We had a commitment to running the ball. We had a big run on the first play of the game, and we stuck with it, and it ended up being our breadwinner today.
Michael Strahan had a big talk before the game and sort of challenged all the players. They responded very well. Yourself also.
No, we did. You know, this was an emotional week for some of us, especially guys who have been here for a long time, myself and Strahan and Amani, and it was, you know, it was fitting. He couldn't have written this script any better, and I feel proud that I was able to uphold Mr. Mara's legacy, and I told Timmy McDonald, his grandson, that I scored a touchdown for him, so that was really fitting for me at the end.
Thanks, Tiki. Appreciate it. Back to you guys, JB.
All right, Tony, complete domination by the New York Giants, who now are in sole possession of first in the NFC East. And again, an excellent job. And Jimmy, would you caution during the pregame show, let's not get too carried away about the Redskins. And again, there's reason for concern there.
Yeah, and I was impressed how the Giants exposed the blitzing defense of the Washington Redskins. Buddy Ryan, one of the great defensive coaches of all time, told me years ago, he said, my blitzes were always good early in the year, but when teams started scheming against it, show the blitz and come out of it. It'll be interesting to see what the Redskins do.
A fitting day in tribute to Wellington Mara, starting with a very emotional rendition of the national anthem by Wellington Mara's granddaughter, Tiki Barber, his favorite player, arguably on the Giants. Inspired day by him, and he inspired an entire defense. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come for this Giant football team.
All right, folks, we're going to take you inside of the Denver locker room, victorious over the Philadelphia Eagles. But first, let's take a look at some of the outstanding players today, our FedEx air and ground stars today. Drew Brees, an impressive outing for him today in guiding Denver past Philadelphia, 25 of 43, 324 yards, strong outing. Tiki Barber, career-high 206 yards on the ground, inspired again by the passing of the team owner, the late Wellington Mara.
By Chevy, the new Chevrolets, an American revolution. By FedEx Express, international shipping made easy. And by Lowe's, where improving home improvement never ends.
Taking him on the field with you, man. You know you don't want to ride with him.
For the rest of the year, House, get the game ball.
Yeah, man. Let's go House on 3. 1, 2, 3. House. Yeah, baby. Let's go.
The Broncos were fired up and remembering their offensive lineman, Dwayne Carswell, who was injured in a car accident earlier this week.
Play action at the goal line. Plummer, Rod Smith, 2-yard touchdown. Smith ties Terrell Davis. Franchise record for touchdowns at 65, 49-21 Denver over Philadelphia. Dallas Cowboys hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Lost 22-23 on the road. Marion Barber over 100 yards rushing on the day. Takes it inside. Touchdown. Barber's second of the day, 34-13. And then Cincinnati, Green Bay. Bengals hosting the Packers. Palmer back, looking down the middle to Johnson. Johnson over the middle, touchdown, 27 yards, 21-7 at this point. And then 21-14 is your final. And there's one heck of a night. You know what? That may have been the hit of the day right there.
Sign him up.
Anyway, Green Bay loses 21-14. Rams at home hosting Jacksonville. There it is. Jamie Martin to Steven Jackson over 107 yards, 70 yards rushing on the day. Takes it in from 19 out, 24-21 Rams over Jacksonville. Raiders trying to win back-to-back games over the Tennessee Titans. There it is. Kerry Collins looking, 26-yard touchdown pass. Jerry Porter, 34-25 Raiders take care of Tennessee. Then Cleveland and Houston are Frank Caliendo said the upset of the day, Houston would win. They do. David Carr to Jerome Mathis, 34-yard score, 19-16. Houston over. And then Joey Harrington sitting on the sideline for the second consecutive day. Watches as, no, Garcia, don't do it. Is that an interception in OT? You know it is, JB. Lions lose at home after they've won 3 straight against the Bears at home.
And you know, Steve Smith had himself an outstanding career day.
He did, but that was Stephen Davis. That's Stephen Smith, inside touchdown. Big day for Carolina. 49ers, tell me,
Ken Dorsey leaves with the left ankle sprain. And guess what? Cody Pickett comes in behind him. But look at what the defense of San Francisco did in rushing for Sims, getting the job done today. Dolphins and the Saints. You know what? They do love their Saints, but the Saints have been struggling big time for sure, and Miami got to them today.
Gus Farad back looking down the left side. They're in the corner of the end zone. Chris Chambers, 12-yard touchdown, 21-6 Miami over New York. Nick Saban back. Chargers then, of course, Kansas City. Chargers trying to get back in the AFC West race. There it is, Breeze, big day, 3 touchdown passes. Antonio Gates, 35-yard touchdown. As I said, 3 touchdowns on the day. 4 Gates, 28-20 Chargers over the Chiefs.
Check this out. In the NFC East, Giants sole possession of first place there. Chicago sole possession of first in the NFC North. 3-way tie in the South between Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and Carolina. Headline notes for you on the day, Jimmy.
You talked about Chicago. my midseason coach of the year, Lovie Smith, doing a great job with a great defense and a rookie quarterback. It's only going to get better the second half.
Well, that NFC East, to go back to that for a second, Philadelphia takes a major step back in Denver, gets pounded defensively, struggle offensively, didn't really look good versus San Diego the week before, had the bye the week before that, really got pounded versus Dallas, and the Washington Redskins got exposed after scoring 52 points. You look at Dallas and you look at the New York Giants. If this defense looks anything like it did today for the New York Giants for the remainder of the year, this could be Dallas and New York coming down the home stretch.
A dud today, Eagles defense on the road. Another dud, Tampa Bay going on the road with everything in their favor, losing to the 49ers. And a big surprise today, obviously, is the job that they're doing, Vitt is doing with the St. Louis Rams. That is going to end up being a huge story if they continue to run the football, control the clock, and win football games.
Can't argue with Indianapolis is doing, but San Diego might be the best squad in the AFC. All right, folks, for Jimmy Johnson, Howie Long, Terry Bradshaw, I'm James Brown. We'll see you next week right here on Fox.
Promotional consideration paid for by Fox Sports thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League. The NFL is online at www.nfl.com.
You've been watching Fox Sports, broadcasting in HD and presented by DirecTV.